Chapter 555. The Azure Sky Pung family joining Stone Village brought great benefits. The simplest point was that the people of Stone Village didn't need to go out to hunt anymore. Rumble, a huge dragon-horned elephant, descended from the sky, causing the ground to rumble. Cut off the meat and dry it. Put the blood into the vat quick. Everyone in Stone Village continuously processed the prey that the Azure Pung brought back. Everyone in the village was beaming with joy. Most of the food in the desolate mountain range came from hunting. However, the desolate mountain range's fierce beasts were ruthless. Every hunt was very dangerous. At this moment, the Azure Pung joined Stone Village. With the power of the Azure Pang's pure-blooded true spirit, hunting prey was simply too easy. The Azure Pung family joining our Stone Village is really great. The old chief leaned on his walking stick. Seeing the bustling scene in the village, he smiled and nodded. The desolate mountain range's fierce beasts are full of vitality. With enough meat, everyone can quickly increase their strength. The worldly, immortal martial path cultivated the vitality to strengthen the body. With these fierce beasts as a supplement, the strength of the villagers increased even faster. With the Azure Pung hunting and having enough meat, the villagers had more time to cultivate. The cultivation conditions were also better. When the Azure Pung taught the three young Azure Pung, it didn't hide anything from everyone. The Azure Pung treasure technique also circulated in Stone Village. While Stone Village was immersed in the cultivation craze, Xiaohao also officially stepped on the road of rise in the second ancestral ground. Several servants in the manor who had been bribed by the Rain clan were planning to frame Xiaohao, but they were all swallowed up by the Taotai treasure technique. Buzz. After Xiaohao cleaned up the servants that colluded with the Rain clan, the Supreme Palace in Xiaohao's mind began to move. The path of the Supreme Palace is unparalleled in the world. In his mind, the door of the Supreme Palace slowly opened, revealing a vast and dignified world. Xiaohao's soul involuntarily flew into the door and entered the Supreme Palace. The Supreme Palace is indeed unfathomable. After his soul entered the Supreme Palace, a glittering stone tablet appeared in front of Xiaohao. A string of words appeared on the stone tablet, introducing the functions of the Supreme Hall to Xiaohao. Pill Hall, Weapon Refining Pavilion, Scripture Depository, Martial Arts Hall, Tao, Enlightenment Hall, Ancestral Master Hall. The Supreme Hall has so many functions. Xiaohao couldn't help but be speechless when he read the introduction on the stone tablet. My identity as the successor of the Supreme Hall is probably really incredible. I've only unlocked the first seal, so there are still many functions that I can't use. Xiaohao calmed his excited heart, and his divine sense passed through the stone tablet, arriving at the only functional building that was currently open. Ancestral Hall. What exactly is the function of this place? In front of him was a simple and dignified hall. When Xiaohao arrived at the entrance of the hall, the door automatically opened. The Supreme Ancestor is actually the founder of the Supreme Palace. Walking into the hall, Xiaohao saw Li Yu's portrait hanging in the middle. Seeing that existence walking in the sky and looking down on the greater thousand realms, the pressure that came from his soul made Xiaohao tremble. Disciple Xiaohao pays his respects to the Supreme Ancestor and all the other ancestral masters. Xiaohao hurriedly bowed respectfully towards the portrait of the ancestral master in the hall. Buzz. After Xiaohao bowed, a ray of light suddenly shot out from the Supreme Ancestor's portrait, and a screen of light appeared in front of Xiaohao. The path of the Supreme Hall is invincible in the world. As the successor of the Supreme Hall, no matter what aspect, you must be the best in the world and be invincible in the world. To become an invincible Supreme, you must first have an invincible body. A majestic voice sounded from the screen of light. Disciple respectfully listens to the teachings of the ancestral master. Xiaohao could tell that it was Li Yu's voice, and he hurriedly bowed and listened to the teachings. However, the teachings that Xiaohao was waiting for did not come. Instead, a string of words appeared on the screen of light. So this is just the voice left behind by the Supreme Ancestor. Xiao Hao realized that it wasn't the ancestral master who had come. It was just a message left behind by the ancestral master. Are the words on the screen of light the key? Xiao Hao focused his attention on the words on the screen of light. Unprecedented, unparalleled, sacred body. When Xiao Hao saw the words on the screen of light, he suddenly took a deep breath. The words describe how to forge a peerless body called the sacred body of the ancients. After the sacred body of the ancients was cultivated, one could move mountains and fill seas, destroy heaven and earth, and have endless magical powers. Furthermore, it could be indestructible and be reborn from a drop of blood. It was simply unimaginably powerful. A pure-blooded true spirit in the blood movement realm has a divine strength of 100,000 pounds. My sacred body in the blood movement realm has a mighty strength of 360,000 pounds. A body that was several times more powerful than a pure-blooded true spirit. How terrifying was this body? No wonder it was called the unprecedented, unparalleled sacred body. It's just that, to forge such a body, the materials required are very unusual. The words on the screen of light introduced that to cultivate the bloodline of the sacred body of the ancients, 3 pure-blooded, true spirit bodies in the blood movement realm were acquired. This was only the bloodline of the sacred body. If he wanted to continue growing, he would need to consume even more materials. Of course, the prospects of this body were also very gratifying. Once the sacred body reached large success, it would truly possess the power of a supreme being. Its might would shake the world, and it would be invincible. This was the sacred body. In the later generations, the world had changed greatly. The sacred body had become unsuitable for cultivation and was no longer glorious. However, under those circumstances, Yi Fan still rose up. Right now, in this desolate world, it was the time for the sacred body to shine brilliantly. The path of a supreme being is the path of invincibility. As the current successor of the Supreme Hall, I naturally cannot bring shame to the name of the Supreme Hall. Achieving the sacred body is the first step on the path of a supreme being. At this time, Xiao Hao also understood the function of the ancestral hall, which was to forge an unparalleled sacred body. I only need the vitality of a pure-blooded true spirit at the blood movement realm. I don't necessarily need to hunt a pure-blooded true spirit. Xiao Hao's soul left the supreme palace and returned to his body. He turned his head to look at the important town in the west of the Stone Country, Rushing Cloud City. His eyes shone with a cold light. The Rain clan who bribed the servants came from Rushing Cloud City. If you want to kill me, I'll kill you. It's just right to use you guys to forge a sacred body. Xiao Hao took a deep breath. The cold light in his eyes gradually disappeared, and the expression on his face returned to normal. After 100 lives of reincarnation and 10,000 years of reincarnation, Xiao Hao had long since refined a calm temperament. His killing intent was restrained, and his sharpness was not revealed. The Rain clan must have colluded with the servants in the manner. In less than 2 days, there will definitely be people from the Rain clan coming to contact the servants. Xiao Hao clenched his fists. Thief! I will definitely kill all of you. Chapter 556. Rushing Cloud City. Inside an imposing and gorgeous mansion, Yu Meng, the commander of the Rain clan stationed at the western border, was frowning as he paced back and forth in the mansion's garden. Is there any news about Shi Xiling and his wife? Yu Meng stood on a stone arch bridge in the garden and looked at a group of purple-scaled fish in the water. His eyes faintly flickered with the light of symbols. The desolate aura was bone-chilling, as if it was the coldest winter. The fish in the pond were frightened. With a huala sound, the purple-scaled fish hurriedly escaped. The fish could escape, but the people could not. Sir, please forgive me. A green-clothed manager's face paled as he hurriedly and respectfully reported. This lowly one has always been investigating, but there is no definite news. This lowly one will definitely investigate strictly and will not slack off. Yu Meng expressionlessly nodded and waved his hand towards the manager. He turned around and walked down the stone bridge, leaving the mansion's garden. The manager's face paled. He knew that Yumeng was already dissatisfied with his incompetence. The steward bowed towards Yumeng's back, then excused himself and left. Not long after, the manager arrived at the front hall with an unhappy expression. He sat down in front of the hall and shouted toward the outside, "Men, we pay our respects to the manager." A group of imposing figures quickly rushed over and paid their respects to the manager. These people's strength was not ordinary. They were all experts recruited by the manager. "I told you to investigate Xilinx news. It's been so long, yet there is no news at all. A group of trash," the manager angrily roared. His imposing manner was like that of an angry lion. "I heard that the old monsters in that lousy manor are all dead. That child is actually still alive?" The manager's face was gloomy as he swept his eyes over everyone. His ice-cold gaze made everyone shiver. "Sir, that child is most likely a substitute. He is not that sure how." A subordinate gathered his courage and replied, "Idiot!" The manager angrily roared and slapped out. The ironwood table in front of him exploded with a loud bang, sending wood shavings everywhere. An enormous force rushed out. Even the diamond stone floor on the ground was shaken into pieces. A large crater appeared on the ground. "We are the Rain clan, a noble family. We are ancient and glorious, with a long history. Regardless of whether that little bastard is a substitute or not, his existence is a humiliation to the Rain clan." The steward turned his head to look at the crowd and snorted heavily. "Do you know what to do now?" "Don't worry, sir. We'll definitely get things done." This group of subordinates had been scolded until their faces were covered in dirt. Naturally, they had to seize the opportunity to show their determination. "Do it cleanly. Don't leave any flaws behind. Otherwise, oomph." The steward snorted coldly and waved his hand at the crowd. "You may leave. Clean it up immediately." "Yes." The group of subordinates accepted the order and left. Stone Clan's second ancestral land. Xiaohao sat on the side of a dirt road in the manor. He leaned against a huge fire mulberry tree and looked outside the manor with a smile. Over there, an old man was driving a beast carriage slowly into the manor. "Grandpa Hai, are you here to deliver food again?" Xiaohao stood up and greeted the old man driving the carriage. "Young master, why are you sitting here?" The old man driving the carriage glanced at Xiaohao and nodded. "The ground is cold. You're not in good health. Be careful." "And I know. Thank you, Grandpa Hai." Xiaohao smiled and waved at the old man. This old man was here to deliver fruits, vegetables, and pray to the manor. In these few years, apart from the deceased great-grandfather, this old man was the only person in the entire manor who cared about Xiaohao. "Sigh, poor child." The beast carriage drove away. A sigh came from afar. Night gradually fell. In the pitch-black night sky, one ferocious beast roar after another faintly came over. At night in the vast wilderness, hearing beast roars was a very normal thing. But tonight's beast roars were somewhat different. Roar. Huge beast roars sounded out continuously. Furthermore, they were getting closer and closer. Faintly, one could even hear the heavy footsteps of fierce beasts running over. Indeed came. Under the fire mulberry tree, Xiaohao opened his eyes. A light flashed and disappeared, as if a bolt of lightning exploded in the pitch-black night sky. Roar! Roar! Rumble! The ferocious beasts roared. Several huge, fierce beasts seemed to have gone mad, charging at the manor. They were savage and ruthless to the extreme. Ah! Fierce beasts attacking the village. Run! In the second ancestral land, other than the Shur tribe's manor, there were also some farmers who farmed to support this manor. At this moment, when they heard the beast roars and saw the commotion, the farmers screamed in panic and ran away pathetically. These bastards! How dare they lay their hands on a child? They deserve to die. Old Man Hai, who had greeted Xiaohao during the day, stood up angrily. Oomph! Allowing the beasts to attack the village. How vicious! I have no choice but to kill them all. Old Man Hai turned around and grabbed a big bough from the backyard. He hung a quiver of arrows on it and walked out of the house. Stepping out of the house, Old Man High raised his longbow and was about to shoot an arrow. The scene in front of him made Old Man High's body tremble. He was so shocked that his jaw dropped. Young master, under Old Man High's shocked gaze, that pitiful child, who was on the verge of death and only had half a life left, was glowing brilliantly. His chi and blood were surging like tides. How dare you trespass on the Sure tribe's land? Give me your life. The small figure was like a wild horse that had escaped from its reins. He crashed into a huge armored bull in front of him. Regardless of size or weight, the two were completely disproportionate. However, boom. Amidst the fierce collision, the iron-armored bull that was 15 meters long and possessed a powerful momentum was actually directly sent flying by this young figure. Die! The small hand waved and slapped the armored bull's head, which was as hard as iron. Crack! The armored bull's incomparably hard skull was actually smashed into pieces by this small hand. Whoa! While the small boy was attacking the armored bull, a huge dire wolf, which was about 10 feet tall, roared and bared its fangs. It bit down on the small boy. Aya! Old Man High was shocked. He quickly raised his bow and arrow, wanting to save the little boy who was caught off guard. However, how dare you attack me? You must be tired of living. The little boy remained calm in the face of this change. He turned around and slapped again without a care in the world. Bang! With a loud sound, the huge dire wolf was slapped on the head. Immediately, blood splattered and its head was smashed. The splattering blood dyed the little boy's clothes red. It also dyed the path he was taking. The path to becoming a supreme being could only be dyed red with blood. There's still one more. I can't let it go. The little boy leaped up and shot out like an arrow towards a ferocious ape at the side. Die! The little boy roared. He leaped up and slapped the huge, ferocious ape. The ferocious ape's head was crushed. Blood splattered and the smell of blood filled the air. However, the small boy stood among the bloody corpses with his head held high and his chest puffed out. He was in high spirits. Incredible. You are indeed a descendant of the Stone Kingdom's royal family. At such a young age, you already have the aura of a hero. Old Man High smiled with relief. So, young master has also cultivated the precious skill. At this moment, Old Man High also noticed the runes on the little boy's palm that had yet to dissipate. Xiao Hao was using the Tao Tai precious skill. Other than the swallow the heavens and devour the earth ability, the Tao Tai, as the son of the dragon, also had powerful close combat abilities. Little brat, you have hidden your strength so well. In the forest outside the manor, a group of black-clothed and masked figures rushed out of the forest. He is only in the blood movement realm. How powerful can a little brat be? Kill him. The person at the front roared. He led a group of black-clothed men and charged toward Xiao Hao. Chapter 557. Damn it! How dare you attack the Stone Tribe's ancestral land so brazenly? Old Man High was enraged when he saw the situation. He raised the longbow in his hand and pulled the bowstring. Grandpa High, you can just watch over me. You don't have to do anything. Xiao Hao smiled at Old Man High. His pure little face actually showed a heroic spirit that looked down on the world. All right, I will stay here and watch you show off your prowess. Old Man High laughed heartily as he looked at the little boy. His eyes shone brightly as he said, a 3-year-old child has such spirit. The Stone Tribe is indeed full of heroes. The Stone Tribe was a family full of heroes. Back then, the ancestor of the Stone Tribe stepped out of the wilderness alone. He fought for a vast land with his bare hands and created a vast ancient country that had been passed down for generations. Today, the Stone Tribe still had countless disciples guarding the borders and fighting against the other tribes in the wilderness to protect this vast country. You bandits dare to invade the Stone Tribe's ancestral land. You deserve death. Xiao Hao, who was covered in blood, stepped on the huge corpse of a ferocious beast. He pointed at the group of men in black who had rushed into the village and shouted angrily, "You are just a little brat. How dare you speak so arrogantly? I will chop you into pieces." A man in black who was holding a giant axe took the lead. He raised the giant axe and chopped it down on the little boy's head. When the axe was chopped down, there was a shrill sound that sounded like the wailing of ghosts. There was a terrifying skull on the back of the giant axe. When the axe was swung, the hole in the skull exploded with rune light. There was a shrill sound that shook one's divine soul. The shrill sound of the giant axe cutting through the air was so ear-piercing that it made people feel numb and dizzy. This was the ultimate skill of the man in black, the frightening god axe. With this strange, shrill sound, the man made a name for himself. The frightening god axe shook one's divine soul. Countless people had died under this skill. Even an adult with a strong divine soul could not withstand this attack, let alone a 2-year-old child. The man was confident that he could kill Xiao Hao in one blow. Evil tricks. After being reincarnated 100 times, Xiao Hao's soul was extremely tough. How could it be shaken by this sharp howl? Xiao Hao snorted coldly. He formed a seal with his hand and blasted out a palm strike. Ayo! An indistinct image of a Taotai soared into the sky. A huge black hole appeared in Xiao Hao's palm, and a power that could devour heaven and earth, and everything rushed out from Xiao Hao's palm. Ah, the Tao Chi's ability to swallow the heavens and devour the earth. The innate precious technique of a pure-blooded true spirit. Its might was world-shaking. How could these small fries resist it? The Taotai phantom rushed over, and the black-clothed man in front of him let out a blood-curdling scream. The man and his weapon were swallowed by the Taotai in one gulp, leaving only some residue that turned into ashes. What is this demonic technique? Xiao Hao killing the black-clothed man in one strike shocked the other black-clothed man. It's actually the Taotai treasure technique? Wasn't the Swan and I treasured technique and the Swan and I treasured technique of the Stone Clan? Why is there still the Taotai treasure technique? Old Man Hai was also shocked by Xiao Hao's attack. Could it be the hidden inheritance in the second ancestral land of the Shi clan? Did the young master find it? No matter how powerful the precious technique is, how many times can he use it? Kill him. These black-clothed men were all fugitives. Since they had already killed their way into the Shi clan's ancestral land, they had already committed a capital crime. Unless they killed everyone here, they would die. Kill. Kill him. The group of black-clothed men roared and waved their weapons toward Xiao Hao. Close to 20 blood transformation realm cultivators. Although the quality is a bit lacking, the quantity is enough. After killing all of you, it should be enough for me to cultivate the saint bloodline. Xiao Hao's eyes were cold. Runes appeared one after another and covered his entire body. Oh! A huge roar soared into the sky, shaking the surroundings. The Taotai phantom rushed out from Xiao Hao's head and covered his entire body. It revealed a dragon sun Taotai that was covered in black scales. Its claws were as sharp as swords, and its fangs were as dense as halberds. Thieves, all of you die for me. The immature voice revealed an aura of disdain for the world. The small figure rushed out and faced the group of black-clothed men. It was like an army of 10,000 charging forward. Its monstrous aura was unstoppable. Pooh! A palm shot out, and the huge Taotai phantom also waved its claws at the same time. A black-clothed man at the front was sent flying like a mosquito. He spat out blood along the way. Roar! The immature voice let out a loud roar, and the Taotai phantom also roared at the same time. The wind whistled, and the clouds surged. The mighty sound waves were like raging tides, and the black-clothed men at the front were shaken to the point of dizziness. Die! A palm shot out, and a black-clothed man's chest caved in. He instantly fell to the ground and died. Kill! A black-clothed man roared. He raised a huge black iron shield and fiercely slammed it toward Xiao Hao. Break! Xiao Hao shouted and slapped down on the huge shield. With a hong sound, the huge shield shattered, and the black-clothed man swayed and fell down. The small figure moved unhindered. Every move was powerful and heavy. Every time he struck out, someone would definitely fall to the ground and die. No one was a match for him. These black-clothed men were only at the blood transformation realm, and the precious techniques they cultivated were only ordinary. Xiao Hao cultivated the 6th Tao reincarnation heavenly technique and the pure, blooded true spirit, Tao Dai, precious technique. The sixth Tao, reincarnation heavenly technique, was the Supreme Palace's peerless inheritance, and the Tao Dai precious technique was the pure, blooded, true spirit's innate precious technique. They were both rare divine abilities for ordinary people. Under this kind of power, these small fries naturally couldn't withstand a single blow. Invading my stone clan's ancestral land. You all deserve to die. Xiao Hao roared. He swept through the enemies in front of him and killed in all directions. Kill! 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 The young figure was bathed in blood. His immature face was resolute. He stepped on the corpses and fought while bathed in blood. He was invincible. Damn it, this brat is too strong. After a round of killing, more than half of the black-clothed men had fallen. A pile of corpses was stepped on by the child, and they died miserably. The remaining 4 or 5 black-clothed men were already terrified by Xiao Hao's killing. Run! More than 20 people besieged a child, but they were defeated in a short period of time. Only a few of them were left, and the remaining few were already terrified and had lost their will to fight. Do you think you can run? Xiao Hao jumped up and chased after the black-clothed men who were running in all directions. Grandpa Hai. While chasing, Xiao Hao shouted at Old Man Hai, "Young master, don't worry. None of them will be able to escape." Old Man Hai laughed loudly and raised his longbow. As the runes shone, a sharp arrow pierced through the air. Ah! After the arrow was shot, a black-clothed man screamed and fell to the ground. Xiao! 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 The arrows were like a string of pearls as they were shot out continuously. The remaining black-clothed men fell to the ground one after another. Pooh! Xiao Hao killed the last person with a palm strike. All the invaders were exterminated and killed. Grandpa Hai's divine archery is unparalleled. Xiao Hao glanced at Old Man Hai and became curious about this old man who transported fruits and vegetables. How can this old man be considered a divine archer? The martial imperial manor's Grandpa 15 is the divine archer. Old Man Hai naturally knew what Xiao Hao was thinking about. Old Man Hai put away his longbow and shook his head with a smile. Back then, I also fought in the great wilderness. Now that I am old, I am living in seclusion near the Stone Tribe's ancestral land. I don't have any other origins and have nothing to do with the Stone Tribe. Old man, thank you for your help. Since Old Man Hai had already said that he didn't have any other origins and had nothing to do with the Stone Tribe, Xiao Hao didn't take it to heart. After all, in the entire village, this old man was the only one who treated him sincerely. This old man didn't help much. Young master, you are the true hero. You are only 3 years old, but you are already so outstanding. Young master's name will definitely shake the great wilderness in the future. Old Man Hai looked at Xiao Hao and was full of praise. He was already so outstanding at the age of 3. He killed 3 ferocious beasts and dozens of bandits. He was bathed in blood and walked over corpses without a change in expression. What kind of hero was this? Chapter 558. More than 20 blood movement cultivators and 3 ferocious beasts. I should be able to refine a saint bloodline. Xiao Hao returned to his room in the manor. His soul sank into a sea of knowledge and entered the ancestral hall of the Supreme Palace. At this moment, more than 20 corpses were floating in a brilliant light inside the ancestral hall. Refine the corpses. Xiao Hao already knew the function of the ancestral hall and immediately began the refinement process. Boom! Rays of light filled the sky and shrouded all the corpses. Under this light, the 20 corpses instantly melted and turned into a pure radiance full of vitality. Refining a saint bloodline is actually using pure vitality as the material to refine it. He didn't kill 3 pure-blooded creatures of the blood movement realm, but these 20 corpses contained enough vitality to refine a saint bloodline. Saint bloodline refine. With the pure vitality as the material, Xiao Hao immediately activated the function of the ancestral hall to refine a saint bloodline. A 5-colored light suddenly rushed up. The pure vitality refined from the corpses was like boiling water as it began to churn. Amidst the boiling radiance of life, there was a brilliant golden light that was like a star in the dark night sky, bursting with resplendent radiance. Buzz, the five-colored light, fiercely shook as the vitality condensed and gathered into the golden light. Boom! With a loud sound, the bright golden light swept out like a vast ocean. A ball of golden blood floated in the air and revealed a majestic and exuberant vitality. Like a scorching sun hanging high in the sky, this ball of golden blood revealed a huge power that seemed to cause the entire space to burn with golden flames. Unprecedented since ancient times, an unparalleled saint bloodline. Its divine power was vast and unparalleled in the world. Such a powerful force. Seeing the golden blood floating in the air and feeling its vast and majestic aura, Xiaohao was so excited that his body trembled. After fusing with this bloodline, I will have an unprecedented saint bloodline and will be able to forge an invincible supreme foundation. Xiaohao tightly clenched his fists and walked under the golden blood. He faced the center of the ancestral hall and deeply bowed towards Li Yu's portrait. Ancestral Master, please bestow upon me the saintly bloodline. Xiaohao bowed to Li Yu's portrait. As you wish. A mighty voice rang out in the ancestral hall. The golden blood floating in the air whistled and rushed into Xiaohao's body. Boom! When the golden blood entered his body, it was as if a ball of lava was poured into his body. Xiaohao's entire body was covered in raging flames. Golden flames surged, and Xiaohao felt as if every part of his body was burning in flames. He had turned into a human-shaped torch. The intense pain made Xiaohao unable to help but roar. This was torture. It was as if every part of his body, every bit of his flesh and blood, had turned into fuel, burning with the flame of life. Golden blood seeped out from the flames and seeped into every inch of his flesh. Xiaohao's original life force was used as fuel to refine the golden body in the raging fire. Boom! Monstrous flames shot up like a volcanic eruption, engulfing the heavens and earth. This was the final eruption and also the final tempering. When the flames dissipated and the phenomenon faded, Xiaohao's body reappeared. The divine light was vast and dazzling. His skin was as clear as jade, as if it was carved out of the most beautiful jade. His muscles and bones were extremely strong, as if they were made of divine iron. The brilliant golden blood was like molten gold, surging violently and mightily. Xiaohao's body bloomed with endless light. The golden divine light was as vast as the ocean, and his blood surged like a raging tide. As expected of the unparalleled sacred body, it's so powerful. Xiaohao's body was still the same as before. It was still the body of a 3-year-old child, but the power contained in this body was like a dragon or a tiger. If he were to encounter the enemies from before again, Xiaohao was confident that he could beat them all with just his physical strength and without using any paragon skills. The successor of the Supreme Hall has achieved the sacred body of the ancients. A body refining method is hereby awarded as an encouragement. At this time, a mighty voice rang out in the ancestral hall again. A ray of light rushed out from the portrait of Li Yu that was hanging in the middle of the ancestral hall and fell into Xiaohao's soul. The martial path of human immortals? Rebirth from a drop of blood, ever-changing the law of heaven and earth, and even the body of a saint? Xiaohao was surprised when he saw the new body-refining method in his mind. What a powerful method! This body-refining method did not cultivate any paragon skills or runes. It only trained the body's qi and blood. It was unbelievable that it could reach such a level of perfection. No wonder the Supreme Ancestral Master said that every successor of the Supreme Hall must be the Supreme of the world. If I can't become a Supreme with such a powerful inheritance, then I'm too useless. Xiaohao bowed to the portrait of the Ancestral Master in the Ancestral Hall. Ancestral Master, I, Xiaohao, will work hard to cultivate and become the Supreme of the world. I will not let you down. When Xiaohao achieved the sacred body and received the inheritance, he was overjoyed but someone was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. Boom! With a heavy slap, the table was smashed into pieces and the floor collapsed. Trash! In Chongyan City, Yu Ming smashed the table in front of him with a slap. He glared fiercely at the manager who was kneeling on the ground in front of him. An ice-cold chill pervaded the air, causing the entire hall to be as cold as the coldest winter. I know my mistake. The manager kowtowed heavily. This time, I will do it personally. If I don't kill that little bastard, I won't come back. Oof. Yu Ming snorted and waved his sleeves. A huge force rushed out and blasted the manager out of the hall. I hope you won't disappoint me, Yu Ming said indifferently. He waved his sleeves and walked out of the hall. Damn little bastard. The manager stood up with a sinister expression. He gritted his teeth and looked in the direction of the second ancestral land of the Stone Clan. His eyes were cold. More than 20 experts were all killed. Someone must have interfered. The manager walked out of the Rain Clan's mansion and rushed toward the second ancestral land of the Stone Clan. This ancestral land of the Stone Clan has become the place of exile of the royal clan. It is impossible for the Stone Clan to station experts in this place. Then, who was the one who interfered? The manager's figure was as fast as lightning. Soon, he arrived at the periphery of the second ancestral land of the Stone Clan. Hiding in the forest outside the manor, the manager hid his tracks and spied on everyone in the manor. There are no eye-catching people in the manor. Who is the one who interfered? The manager did not see any experts in the manor. He was a little surprised and doubtful. It's you. When Old Man Hai drove the beast carriage into the manor, the manager's eyes narrowed. He was furious. An old ghost of the Grotto Heaven realm who won't live for more than a few days. How dare you meddle in other people's business? You are courting death. The steward clenched his fists tightly. Old bastard, little bastard, you're all going to die. Chapter 559. Night fell. Outside the village of the Shur clan's second ancestral land, there was a small village. This village was developed to support the Shur clan's second ancestral land and provide all kinds of living materials. The village was not far from the village. It was only 2 to 3 miles away. It could be said that it was connected to the Shur clan's ancestral land. Old Man Hai was a hunter. Every day, he would drive a beast cart to deliver his prey and the fruits and vegetables from the village to the village to the village. It was already late. Old Man Hai had a pipe in his mouth and was lying on a chair. He was smoking and puffing out clouds of smoke. Young master has changed so much. In the past, he was just a child who was bullied. In the blink of an eye, he seemed to have been reborn. What kind of inheritance did the Shur clan leave behind in their ancestral land? Old Man Hai pondered for a moment and then laughed. I'm already old. Why do I still care about this? I'll just live my life peacefully. The night wind was cold. The whimpering of the wind faintly revealed a hint of killing intent. Old Man Hai's turbid eyes suddenly lit up. He stood up abruptly. His old and slightly hunched body suddenly straightened up. His chi and blood surged like a tide. His spiritual essence shot up to the sky like a smoke signal. I just want to live my life peacefully. It seems like someone doesn't want me to live peacefully. Old Man Hai turned his head and looked outside the village. In the dark night, the killing intent of the night wind swept up countless withered leaves. If you want to live peacefully, you shouldn't be meddlesome. People who meddle don't live long. In the darkness of the night, a figure rode on the wind and silently floated into the village. It was as if it was drizzling, entering with the wind. Rain Clan. Seeing the figure that floated in like a drizzle, Old Man Hai's face turned serious. Your Rain Clan dares to invade the Shur clan's ancestral land? Rain Clan, do you want to be exterminated? As long as I kill you, who will know that I was here? Without any evidence, even the Stone Emperor would not easily put the blame on our Rain Clan. The manager in green looked at Old Man Hai with a cold smile. He stretched out his hand, and a thin and sharp spike appeared in his hand. Old man, you shouldn't meddle in other people's business. Those who meddle in other people's business don't live long. The steward's figure flickered and silently floated up. He looked light and powerless, but the sharp spike pierced through the air like a bolt of lightning. It was earth-shattering. Dripping water pierces stone. Watery light gathered on the tip of the spike. It had an extremely strong, penetrating power. It pierced through the void and pierced towards Old Man High. Rain Clan's true technique. Old Man High's expression changed drastically. The smoking pipe in his hand emitted a dazzling rune light. He unleashed all of his strength and blocked the spikes with all his might. Even with all his might, Old Man High's expression was still very serious. Old Man High was a Grotto Heaven Realm cultivator. However, he was just an unorthodox cultivator and did not have a profound inheritance. The azure-clothed man in front of him was also at the Grotto Heaven Realm. However, he was from the Rain Clan and had the orthodox inheritance of the Rain Clan. His strength was much stronger than those unorthodox loose cultivators. Boom! The pipe and the spike collided with each other, creating a loud noise. A huge force surged up, and the cigarette in Old Man High's hand exploded. He staggered backward and spat out a mouthful of blood. Oomph! A mere loose cultivator dares to meddle in the affairs of a noble. You really don't know what's good for you. After sending Old Man High flying with a single blow, the green-robed manager snorted coldly. He glanced at Old Man High with disdain. The sharp spike in his hand vibrated as he leaped up and charged towards Old Man High again. I'm not that easy to bully. Old Man High roared. His hair stood on end, and he roared like a furious lion. He dashed forward and fought with the azure-clothed manager. The commotion caused by the fight alerted many people in the village. However, these ordinary people did not dare to meddle in a fight between cultivators. They all closed their doors and did not dare to make a sound. Over there. The commotion caused by the fight also alerted Xiaohao. Xiaohao dashed out of the door and looked in the direction of the fight. He was shocked. That's the direction of Grandpa High's house. Did something happen to Grandpa High? Xiaohao's figure sprang up and rushed towards Old Man High's house. A huge amount of qi and blood surged like a great river. His small figure was like a giant dragon or elephant galloping across the vast wilderness. His heavy footsteps seemed to cause the earth to shake. Grandpa High, don't panic. I'm coming. Amidst the rumbling sounds of footsteps, Xiaohao's figure was like a huge mountain as he fiercely crashed over. The azure-clothed manager forced Old Man High to retreat. His sharp spike pierced through Old Man High's shoulder, leaving a bloody hole. Just as he was about to continue, he suddenly saw Xiaohao's ferocious figure dashing towards him like a mountain. The azure-clothed manager was shocked. Who is this? Young master, leave quickly. Old Man High was covered in blood. When he saw Xiaohao dashing towards him, he panicked and shouted anxiously, Young master, this is someone from the Rain Clan. Leave quickly. Leave quickly. Someone from the Rain Clan? So he's here for me. When Xiaohao heard Old Man High's words, he immediately understood the situation. This azure-clothed man must have come here because he killed the group of bandits who attacked the village. He thought that it was Grandpa High who killed those people, so he's here for revenge. Xiaohao snorted coldly. His ferocious figure did not stop. Instead, he sped up. So you're that little brat? The azure-clothed manager also understood Xiaohao's identity. When he saw Xiaohao's boundless qi and blood and his tyrannical physique, the azure-clothed manager's pupils shrank. A 3-year-old brat has such a tyrannical physique? Could it be that he's not a substitute? The azure-clothed manager raised the spike in his hand and sneered. It doesn't matter if he's a substitute. Since he's here, I'll deal with him together. In a flash, the azure-clothed manager dashed in front of Xiaohao. The spike in his hand pierced through the air and stabbed toward Xiaohao's head. This spike could pierce through metal and stone. If Xiaohao was stabbed, his head would definitely be pierced, and he would die a miserable death. Bandit! Xiaohao leaped up and dodged the azure-clothed manager's spike. You deserve to die. Xiaohao roared angrily. He raised his dazzling golden fist, and a mighty divine light swept across the area. Dazzling divine light burst out from Xiaohao's body. The vast golden light behind Xiaohao formed a vast ocean, surging violently. Boom! The heavy fist smashed out violently, causing the air to explode. Bam! The azure-clothed manager did not expect Xiao Hao to be so powerful. He was caught off guard and was instantly hit by the punch. Puffed. The azure-clothed manager spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying by Xiao Hao's punch. Young master is so strong? When Old Man Hai saw this, he was dumbfounded. Just the strength of his body was already so tyrannical. This was unbelievable. Chapter 560. Damn it. The manager was so angry that his eyes turned red. He gritted his teeth. He had been careless and had been hit by this brat. Although he was not seriously injured, he had lost a lot of face. Brat, you have angered me. The manager's face was cold. His aura was vast and mighty, and the entire world was filled with endless cold wind and rain. Even if your body is strong, you are only in the early stage of the blood movement realm. How dare you be so presumptuous in front of me? I will show you what Grotto Heaven is and what true power is. The manager's body shook, and a bright light burst out from his chest. Boom! A loud sound was heard. Within the brilliance, a brilliant hole suddenly appeared. It was like a volcano that contained endless lava and was about to erupt. It was also like a passage to an unknown and mysterious world. When the green-robed manager opened the hole in his chest, a vast and boundless power surged out like a raging tide. Boom! Under this monstrous power, Old Man Hai's house collapsed with a loud bang. It had been crushed by this enormous pressure. This is a Grotto Heaven? It is indeed tyrannical. Xiao Hao was shocked when he saw this power. The Grotto Heaven realm absorbed the essence of heaven and earth, the essence of the sun and moon, and nurtured one's own supernatural powers. This realm was different from the blood movement realm, where one had a strong body. Instead, one had truly possessed supernatural powers and supernatural powers. Young master, leave quickly. Old Man Hai rushed over and blocked Xiao Hao. He reached out and tried to push Xiao Hao away. However, he realized that he could not move Xiao Hao at all. Young master, Old Man Hai was shocked. He could not move Xiao Hao. Young master's strength was so strong. Leave? None of you can leave. All of you will die. The manager opened up his Grotto Heaven and absorbed the essence of heaven and earth. His body shone brightly like a god descending to the mortal world. Grandpa Hai, I am not afraid of him. Xiao nodded at Old Man Hai and stepped forward. His face was resolute, and the blood in his body surged like a raging tide. The path of a supreme being is invincible. The grand ancestral master gave me a solid foundation, but I still need to train. Xiao took a deep breath and said, Supremes are all killed. Then I'll use your head to witness my path to becoming a sovereign. Xiao Hao resolutely took a step forward, bravely and resolutely facing the green-robed manager who was overflowing with power. Brave and fearless. Invincible hero. Heroic, unparalleled in the world. Old Man Hai was amazed by his spirit. Young master, you have such spirit at such a young age. You will definitely be a hero in the future. Hero? Even so, he had to be alive to be a hero. If you're dead, you're just dog shit. The cyan-robed manager sneered. The spike in his hand trembled, and a cold water light shot up into the sky. It was like an endless rain, whistling as it rushed toward Xiao Hao. Torrential storm. The densely packed light spots were like dense raindrops. The wind howled and the rain poured down. The dense dots of light transformed into sharp arrows that rained down like rain. The specks of light pierced through the air, emitting a series of sharp whistles. It tore through the sky and pierced through the earth, covering the sky and covering the earth. According to legends, the ancestor of the Rain Clan was the rain god. The secret technique of the Rain Clan used the rain as the source and the rain as the form. It possessed unfathomable divine power. This is the secret technique of the Rain Clan. Facing the rain of arrows that covered the sky, Xiao Hao's expression did not change. However, he did not underestimate it in his heart. Godly Tao Ye's power. He put his hands together and then suddenly opened them. As he opened and closed them, a huge black hole appeared between Xiaohao's hands. An endless devouring force was produced from the black hole. Devour the heavens and earth. A huge devouring force was produced and engulfed the heavens and earth. It was as if a huge whirlpool had appeared. The rain droplets that filled the sky were all sucked into the black hole. Godly Taoyia's treasure technique? The cyan robe manager cried out in surprise. The innate treasure technique of a pure-blooded true spirit was extraordinary. Even in the Rain clan, other than the Rain God's secret technique, they did not have any other techniques that were comparable to a pure-blooded true spirit's treasure technique. The cyan robe manager was only a member of the Rain clan side branch. He had only learned some superficial techniques of the Rain God's secret technique. At this moment, when he saw the godly Taoyia's treasured technique in Xiaohao's hands, he was pleasantly surprised. Good, good. I never thought that there would be such a harvest. The heavens are helping me. The cyan robe manager stared at Xiaohao. His eyes were shining and his heart was burning. As long as I obtain this godly Taoyia's treasure technique, I will be able to rise up and become a tyrant. I won't have to look at other people's faces anymore. That's great. You want my treasure technique? Then we'll have to see if you have the ability. Xiaohao sneered and rushed out. Like an arrow leaving the bow, he fiercely collided with the cyan-robed manager. A vast and mighty golden radiance surged, making Xiaohao's rushing figure look like a golden dragon. His divine might was awe-inspiring, and his aura overflowed the heavens. If your realm is not enough, it's useless no matter how strong your treasure technique is. The cyan-robed manager laughed nastily. The sharp spike in his hand vibrated crazily like a sinister, poisonous snake that was crazily twisting. Rain snake. The sharp spike whistled through the air and exploded with a loud sound. A huge snake shadow stirred up the wind and rain. It opened its huge mouth filled with fangs and fiercely bit at Xiaohao. The huge snake's shadow covered the heavens and the earth. Its vast power was boundless. My cultivation level is still too weak. The godly Taoyia's treasure technique can no longer devour this attack. Is this the true power of the Grotto Heaven realm? Sensing this huge power, Xiaohao already knew that he could no longer use the godly Taoyia's treasure technique to devour it. Then I can only take it head-on. Let me test the power of the divine physique. Xiaohao's blood and qi were vast and mighty. Like a vast ocean, the golden radiance soared into the sky. Unprecedented, unparalleled, divine physique. Boom! The huge snake's shadow fiercely smashed down, exploding with a loud sound. The divine radiance scattered, and the huge impact fiercely slammed into Xiaohao's body. Pooh! Fresh blood spurted out, and a series of bone-shattering sounds came from his young body. Even if Xiaohao had obtained a profound inheritance, his cultivation time was still too short. He still did not have enough strength to display the true power of the inheritance. With one attack, Xiaohao's body was bathed in blood, and his bones were broken. Ha ha ha! After one attack, the cyan-robed manager laughed wildly. Little brat, your strength is still far from enough. You're dead. Young master, Old Man Hai exclaimed, and was about to rush out to save Xiaohao when he suddenly saw Xiaohao, who was bathed in blood, standing upright without any change in his expression. Golden radiance soared into the sky, and the wounds on his body were rapidly healing. In a moment, Xiaohao had completely recovered. There were no wounds on his body. This scene shocked the cyan-robed manager. This is the invincible Vajra body? No, Xiaohao shook his head. This is unprecedented, unparalleled, divine physique. Divine physique? The cyan-robed manager curled his lips. So what if your recovery ability is strong? I want to see if you can regrow your head after chopping it off. I'm just using you to train myself. Now the training is over. So go to hell. Xiaohao shouted and formed a series of hand seals with both hands. 6 hand seals were formed, and the 6 paths of reincarnation appeared. Time passed, and all living things were reincarnated. An extremely mysterious power swept out. For a moment, there was silence. It was as if all living things in the world were frightened by this power. They were as silent as cicadas in winter and trembling. 6 paths of reincarnation, heaven and earth returned to silence. With one attack, all living things were reincarnated. The cyan robe manager's body stiffened when he was hit by this power. It was as if his soul had left his body and entered an endless cycle of reincarnation. Go to hell. His palm was like a knife, and the golden radiance of the palm pierced through the air. A head flew off, and blood spurted out. TSK. Too strong. Old Man High was stunned, moving the blood and slashing the grotto heaven. Young Master is defying the heavens. To have such achievements at the age of 3, his future is unimaginable. Chapter 561. Xiaohao killed a grotto heaven realm cultivator. Liu saw this through the system connection and nodded in satisfaction. Xiaohao has finally started. I can open up some of the system's functions to him. Liu's new system was a little different from the previous ones. It was a sect master system. Since he was going to equip Emperor Huang with a team, he might as well let Xiaohao establish his own force and control it. He would use the name Supreme Palace to establish a sect and dominate the 8 barren lands. Then, he would fight his way from the lower world to the upper world with a group of powerful subordinates and dominate the world. With Xiaohao's current strength, he still has a long way to go to establish his own force. Therefore, the only place suitable for Xiaohao to farm is Stone Village. With a flick of Liu's finger, a message was sent to the Supreme Hall system in Xiaohao's mind, giving him a mission. Train in the Great Wilderness? After killing the cyan-robed steward, Xiaohao used the Taotai treasure technique to devour his strength and refined it with the human immortal martial arts, causing his sacred body of the ancients to grow tremendously. At this moment, Xiaohao's strength had exceeded 50,000 pounds. His young body contained a vast amount of qi and blood. At this moment, new information appeared on the huge crystal tablet in the Supreme Palace in his mind. This is the sect's training mission. The pure-blooded true spirits train their young and order them to travel 100,000 miles alone in the great wilderness. They will fight and experience all kinds of dangers along the way. As for me, as the successor of the Supreme Palace, my mission is to travel 300,000 miles alone. Xiaohao took a deep breath, and his face was full of determination. The great wilderness is full of dangers. Traveling 300,000 miles alone in the great wilderness is a severe test, but I will not back down. He faced challenges head-on. Xiaohao stepped out of the manor without hesitation and stepped into the vast and dangerous Great Wasteland. That's Chongyun City. After leaving the manor and traveling 1,000 miles alone, Xiaohao saw Chongyun City, an important town in the western border of the Stone Kingdom. The Rain Clan has a stronghold in Chongyun City. My current strength is not enough to wipe out this stronghold. I'll pay you a visit in the future. After taking a deep look in the direction of Rushing Cloud City, Xiaohao turned around and rushed into the boundless great wilderness. Leaving Rushing Cloud City meant leaving Stone Country's territory. There was only a desolate mountain range in front of him. Ferocious beasts roared and birds of prey whistled, containing endless danger. "De Huang, I'm coming." Xiaohao tightly clenched his fists. His blood and qi surged as he rushed into the unknown and dangerous wasteland. Hiss! A poisonous flood dragon burst out of the mountain stream, its foot-long, poisonous fangs gleaming with a cold light. Poison flood dragon? Xiaohao recalled that he had been bitten by the venomous flood dragon, and even his leg had been crippled. A wave of anger rose in his heart. He frowned, and a golden light burst out from his body as he heavily punched out. Boom! Blood splashed in all directions. Pieces of flesh and bones exploded all over the ground. With a punch, the venomous Jiao dragon was directly blasted apart by this huge force. The venomous flood dragon is still the venomous flood dragon, but I am no longer the helpless child from before. Along the way, he fought and killed. In a dangerous wasteland, almost every step forward was a severe test. Time passed day by day, and the dangers he faced increased. There was almost no time for him to rest. Xiaohao's entire body was bathed in blood. His clothes were already tattered, and a thick layer of blood had accumulated on his fair skin. The smell of blood was so thick that it was nauseating. Dragon-horned elephant? Xiaohao had just gotten rid of a pack of dire wolves. After stepping into the wilderness, he crashed into the territory of the dragon-horned elephant. The huge dragon-horned elephant was about 10 feet tall. There were 2 coral-shaped dragon horns on its head, and its body was like a small hill. When Xiaohao stepped into the territory of the dragon-horned elephant, the leader of the dragon-horned elephant, that huge male elephant that was like a small hill, crashed towards Xiaohao with a rumbling sound. The heavy elephant legs stomped on the ground, causing the ground to shake violently. The huge figure ruthlessly crashed over, as if a hill was crashing towards him. "I was just about to test my strength on you." Xiaohao's eyes flashed. His entire body was covered in golden light, and his figure was like a dragon. He met the huge elephant's crushing figure and ruthlessly crashed towards it. Rumble. The young figure and the huge elephant collided violently, and there was an earth-shattering sound. Roar. The huge elephant let out a wail. Its huge figure was actually sent flying by Xiaohao, and it crashed onto the ground with a rumbling sound. Roar! Roar! The elephant herd was shocked by this power, and they cried out loudly and scattered in all directions. Ha ha ha! Xiaohao stepped on the huge elephant that had fallen to the ground and laughed loudly. After fighting and killing along the way and going through untold hardships, he had finally trained his strength to 50,000 pounds, which had reached the standard of a pure-blooded, true spirit infant. However, this is still not enough. The standard given by the Supreme Palace was that the blood movement realm had to train one's body to 360,000 pounds of strength. This dragon-horned elephant has enough qi and blood. It's just right to strengthen my body. Using the Taotai treasured technique, the power of devouring heaven and earth devoured the huge dragon-horned elephant, leaving only a pile of ashes. Human immortal martial path, refine. A huge amount of qi and blood poured into his body. Xiaohao waved his fists and legs, and with the human immortal martial path body tempering technique, he refined the huge amount of qi and blood that had been absorbed into his body. I can already open my acupoints. After absorbing and refining the dragon-horned elephant's qi and blood, Xiaohao could already faintly feel the pulsing acupoints in his body. To truly open my acupoints, I still need a huge amount of qi and blood. Therefore, I have to find a primordial remnant. A primordial remnant was a creature with a pure-blooded, true spirit bloodline. Although the bloodline of these creatures was not pure enough, they still had extremely powerful strength. Primordial remnant were not everywhere. However, there were many chances of encountering a primordial remnant after traveling 300,000 miles in the vast wilderness. His footsteps did not stop, and the killing continued. Rumble. A mountain in front of him exploded, and gravel flew everywhere, and dust flew everywhere. Roar. A huge, ferocious ape that was hundreds of feet tall and covered in yellow fur beat its chest and roared at the sky. A giant mountain ape, and it's an adult giant mountain ape. Xiaohao shrunk his neck and hurriedly retracted his aura, hiding behind a huge rock. The giant mountain ape was a primordial remnant. However, an adult giant mountain ape was extremely powerful. With one slap, it could even shatter a mountain. It was not something that Xiaohao could afford to offend with his current strength. Is the giant mountain ape fighting with something? Xiaohao poked half of his head out from behind the rock and looked into the distance. Screech! A bird's cry sounded, and a huge black shadow descended like a cloud. A huge bird descended from the sky and pounced on the giant mountain ape. The ferocious bird let out a long cry, and a crystal light shot out from its beak like a meteor shower. Boom! The entire hill was flattened. It's too powerful. Xiaohao had traveled the vast wilderness alone and experienced countless dangers. However, he had not seen many existences that could move mountains and fill seas and destroy heaven and earth. This is equivalent to the Stone Kingdom's nobles. What made them fight to the death? What exactly happened in the vast wilderness? Chapter 562. Kaboom! The giant mountain ape and the ferocious bird fought until the mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. Mountains crumbled one after another, and the earth cracked open. Within the range of their battle, it was as if the heavens and earth were about to collapse. Too ferocious, Xiaohao had retreated 3 times in a row and was already far away from the battlefield. The ferocious birds and ferocious beasts seemed to be fighting for their lives. Amidst the roars, feathers flew and blood splattered everywhere. This battle lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. In the end, there was a violent explosion. The ferocious beasts and birds let out shrill cries and fell to the ground. They actually perished together? Xiaohao looked up and saw that the giant mountain ape had twisted the bird's neck, and the bird had pierced the giant mountain ape's heart with its claws. Both of them fell to the ground and died. What are they fighting for? Why are they fighting so fiercely? Xiaohao leaped up and rushed to the battlefield. He found that the giant mountain ape and the bird had both died. 2 archaic remains that were equivalent to the noble plane of the human race had died together, just like that. The flesh and blood of archaic remains is a great tonic. I can't waste it. Xiaohao waved his hand and put the 2 ferocious beasts into the Supreme Hall. When he was killing the bandits who had invaded the manor, Xiaohao had already discovered that the Supreme Hall in his mind had a huge storage space. It could be used as a treasure like the Chinquin bag. I didn't find any divine items or sacred medicines nearby. What made these 2 ferocious beasts fight? And why did they fight to the death and kill each other? Xiaohao looked around the battlefield, but didn't find anything special. He was confused about the fight between the ferocious birds and ferocious beasts. They can't be fighting to the death for no reason. What's going on? Xiaohao frowned in confusion. Kaboom! Suddenly, an earth-shattering explosion shook the world. In the depths of the vast wilderness, a monstrous flame shot up into the sky and burned through the firmament. Huge mountains were turned into scorching magma by the raging flames. Even the earth was being melted by the flames. Amidst the raging flames that engulfed the heavens and earth, a red bird spread its feathers and soared into the sky. Its divine might was monstrous, causing one's heart to tremble. Buzz! A huge golden claw smashed through the clouds and smashed towards the bird in the flames. The red bird swayed and avoided the claw. The large golden claw struck empty air, smashing an enormous mountain ridge into pieces. The mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. The sky collapsed and the earth caved in. It was incomparably terrifying. This is the vermilion bird. Xiaohao looked at the earth-shattering battle in the distance and was shocked. What is that golden claw? The vermilion bird was a true, pure-blooded, true spirit, and an adult one at that. His strength was incomparably tyrannical, and his strength was beyond imagination. Compared to the battle between the giant mountain ape and the ferocious bird, the current battle was even more terrifying and shocking. Even such existences are fighting. I'm afraid something big has happened in the great wilderness. Xiaohao's expression was very serious. I definitely can't go where the vermilion bird is fighting. A battle between such peerless experts would definitely cause the nearby, ferocious birds and beasts to scramble to escape. There would definitely be a beast tide. Xiaohao traveled the great wilderness to train himself, not to court death. If he ran into a beast tide, there was no other way but to turn and run. Otherwise, he would be drowned by the beast tide. Let's increase my strength first. The mission to train the great wilderness had not been completed. The road ahead would be very dangerous. Only by increasing his strength would he be able to continue. Xiaohao found a hill and jumped up. He waved his hand and released the huge giant mountain ape. I'm about to open my meridians and achieve minor success in the human immortal martial path. This giant mountain ape is a primordial remnant. Its strength is equivalent to a human noble. I can use it to break through my cultivation. Runes shone brightly, and the shadow of a Taotai appeared above Xiaohao's head. It opened its mouth like a black hole and swallowed the giant mountain ape. Boom! Monstrous chi and blood flowed like the Milky Way. It was as if a river had burst its banks. The boundless power poured into Xiaohao's body, causing him to tremble. It's too powerful. Xiaohao's heart tightened. He quickly used the human immortal martial path and poured the raging chi and blood into his meridians. Crack! The sound of glass breaking was heard. Under the impact of the boundless chi and blood, Xiaohao's meridians were open one by one. Buzz! Dazzling golden divine splendor radiated outwards. Within this divine splendor, stars began to shine one after another. 1 star, 2 stars, 1296 meridians were opened at the same time. One meridian connected to all meridians. In an instant, all 129,600 meridians lit up like a brilliant galaxy. One meridian connected to all meridians. Chi and blood run through my entire body. With a loud roar, the giant mountain ape swallowed all of its energy into its body. The mighty chi and blood ran through his meridians like a raging river. Boom! A golden light shot into the sky from the top of Xiaohao's head. The golden light was like a pillar of light that reached the sky. The giant mountain ape turned into a pile of ashes. All of its energy had been refined by Xiaohao. All of his meridians had been opened. His chi and blood were like rainbows. Good, good, good. Feeling the huge changes in his body, Xiaohao was overjoyed. The mysterious phenomenon in the sky disappeared, and Xiaohao leaped down the hill. Then, he threw a punch at a huge cliff in front of him. Boom! Golden light flashed, and a monstrous divine power burst out. With a punch, the cliff exploded, turning into pieces of rubble that scattered everywhere. Small success, same body. I have reached the limit of the blood movement realm. The standard given by the Supreme Palace was to have 360,000 pounds of strength in the blood movement realm. Xiaohao had opened all of his meridians, and his saint body had reached small success. He had reached this goal. After 2 years of training in the wasteland, I have finally reached perfection. After reaching the blood movement realm, his body was several times stronger than a pure-blooded, true spirit infant. He had reached his goal of being invincible in the blood movement realm. At this point, Xiaohao's mission to train in the wasteland had been completed. The only thing missing was a little bit of the journey. There's still some distance left. Let's finish it. Traveling 300,000 miles alone to train in the wasteland. Now that he had traveled over 200,000 kilometers, he just had to continue walking down the remaining path. Stepping out of the broken cliff, Xiaohao casually chose a direction and walked forward. Roar! At this time, Xiaohao suddenly heard a huge beast roar in the distance. Xiaohao quickly turned his head and looked in the direction of the roar. There are actually people going deep into the wasteland at this time. In the direction of the beast roar, Xiaohao saw a huge flying flood dragon. The blue flood dragon was 200 feet long. Its body was covered in blue scales that shone brightly. The flood dragon had a pair of huge wings on its back that were shaped like bat wings. With a flap of its wings, the flood dragon whistled through the air. A middle-aged man and 3 children sat on the back of the flood dragon. All of them were dressed gorgeously and had an extraordinary aura. If they want to go deep into the wasteland, then let them be. I don't care. Xiaohao no longer paid attention to the people on the flood dragon and continued walking. Kid, stop right there. Xiaohao had just started walking when he heard an arrogant shout, which made Xiaohao frown. Kid, there was a strange phenomenon here just now. There was a golden rainbow that reached the sky. There must be a treasure that appeared. Hurry up and hand it over, and this old man will spare your life. The middle-aged man on the flood dragon stood with his hands behind his back. He stared at Xiaohao with an arrogant and cold face. It was as if he was a high and mighty figure that controlled the life and death of millions of people. Chapter 563. Golden Rainbow. The Birth of a Rare Treasure. Xiaohao was slightly stunned, but he immediately understood. These people probably saw the strange phenomenon when he broke through his cultivation and thought that some strange treasure had appeared. Thinking of this, Xiaohao laughed and shook his head speechlessly. You dare to resist? Seeing Xiaohao shaking his head, the middle-aged man flew into a rage. This place is only 1,000 miles away from Luofu Swamp. Which clan are you from? How dare you defy the decree of the Luofu royal family? Do you want to be exterminated? The flying dragon flew through the air and arrived in front of Xiaohao in an instant. The middle-aged man stared at Xiaohao fiercely and was about to explode. Then, ow, ow! The flying dragon floating above Xiaohao's head suddenly screamed in horror and fell to the ground with a crash. Ouch! The middle-aged man and the 3 children exclaimed and jumped off the back of the flying dragon in a sorry state. Damn it! How dare you hurt the beast of the Luofu clan? The middle-aged man thought that Xiaohao had attacked the flying dragon and was about to explode, but he found that the flying dragon did not seem to be injured, but it was scared. Woo-woo! The flying dragon crawled on the ground and buried its head deeply. Its whole body was trembling, and it kept whining. The middle-aged man was stunned. He was shocked. The flying dragon was a ferocious beast unique to Luofu Swamp. It even dared to fight the Hui dragon and was very fierce. But now it was scared, and it was so scared that it was trembling all over. This child is just an ordinary pauper. His clothes are ragged and his whole body is filthy. The middle-aged man suddenly smelled a strong smell of blood. It was as if he had gone through endless battles, continuous battles, and the thick smell of blood had accumulated. The middle-aged man looked at Xiaohao in horror. This child of 5 or 6 years old was ragged, and his whole body was covered in thick black filth. The smell of blood came from the filth. How many battles did he go through to accumulate such a strong smell of blood? The Luofu Swamp was deep in the wilderness, far away from the hinterland of the human race. Naturally, there were many battles. As an important member of the Luofu clan, this middle-aged man naturally did not lack battle experience. However, the bloody aura he sensed from the 5 or 6-year-old child made him sense the aura of countless ferocious beasts. There were wild beasts, ferocious birds of the great wilderness, and even the blood of archaic descendants. Oh my God, where did this kid come from? The middle-aged man's heart skipped a beat as he suddenly recalled a legend from the great wilderness. According to the legends, the pure-blooded, true spirit children, the descendants of the emperor of the Great Desolation ancient kingdom, these peerless geniuses would be sent out by their families to gain experience in the Great Desolation ancient kingdom. 100,000 miles of bloody road, tempering and killing, and becoming invincible. This legend is actually true? Was there really someone who could travel 100,000 miles in the great wilderness alone when they were young? This is too terrifying. The middle-aged man was deeply aware of the dangers and terrors of the great wilderness. Even now, he didn't dare to say that he could safely traverse the entire 100,000 miles of the great wilderness. But this 5 or 6-year-old child was actually able to travel through the great desolate lands alone and open the trial of blood. What kind of terrifying and peerless talent was this? If he knew that Xiaohao had already walked 300,000 miles, he would probably be scared to death on the spot. Young master, we have offended you just now. Please forgive us. An existence that traveled 100,000 miles alone to gain experience in the great wilderness wasn't someone that a small Luofu marsh could afford to offend. The middle-aged man hurriedly admitted defeat and lowered his head. Even if this child hadn't truly grown up, but what about the faction behind him? How could such a magnificent feat of gaining experience in the great wilderness not have a guardian? Normally, they wouldn't interfere, but once there was a life-threatening danger, the existence behind him would definitely take action. Forget it. This middle-aged man's attitude changed greatly from arrogance to deference. Xiaohao curled his lips and didn't bother to pay attention to him. He waved his hand and turned to leave. Young master, 4 pure-blooded true spirits have fought in the depths of the great wilderness for 2 years. I'm afraid that a treasure mountain will appear in the great wilderness. we and the surrounding noble clans. Speaking of noble clans, the middle-aged man's face flushed red. The title of noble clans was something they gave themselves. It was fine if they usually called themselves nobles in the great wilderness. At this moment, they also called themselves nobles in front of this youth with an extraordinary background. This was a joke. Fortunately, Xiaohao's face didn't show any abnormality. This made the middle-aged man heave a sigh of relief and praise in his heart. As expected of a noble background, open-minded as a valley, an extraordinary bearing. Young master, the nearby clans are about to gather in the great wilderness. We don't have extravagant hopes for the treasure mountain. It's mainly to let the juniors of our clans interact with each other. The middle-aged man said and pointed at the 3 children beside him. The juniors of our clans are about to head to the great wilderness for an exchange. Young master has an extraordinary background and probably hasn't seen the local conditions and customs of the great wilderness. Why don't you go and take a look together? This works too. Xiaohao thought for a moment. Gaining experience was also to increase one's knowledge and experience the great wilderness at the same time. However, Xiao didn't have a good impression of this middle-aged man and just let him lead the way. Great! The middle-aged man laughed joyfully. To be able to form a relationship with someone with an extraordinary background like Xiaohao, he would definitely benefit greatly. It's just that the middle-aged man looked at the still shivering flying dragon and felt helpless. Young master, your aura is too strong. The flying dragon is terrified. I'm afraid, oh? Xiaohao looked at the thick blood stains on his body and shook his head with a smile. I'll go wash up first. Not far away, there was a large river, and the sound of raging tides could be faintly heard. Xiaohao's figure flashed and rushed towards the direction of the large river, dashing off into the distance like a wisp of smoke. Young master is swift and decisive, a man of temperament. That's... The middle-aged man suddenly recalled the terror of that large river and instantly turned pale with fright. That's the lunar river. It's bone-chilling and can freeze all things. Young master, you must not go. The middle-aged man's face changed greatly. He hurriedly rode the flying dragon and shouted as he hurriedly chased after Xiaohao. The flying dragon swept through the sky and rushed out with extreme speed, chasing after Xiaohao all the way. When the flying dragon passed over a large mountain, a large river that was 10 miles wide with pitch-black water and endless ice appeared before them. Young master, don't... Standing on the back of the flying dragon, the middle-aged man was shocked to find that Xiaohao was swimming happily in the lunar river that was said to freeze all things and extinguish all life. It's so comfortable. Xiaohao plunged into the lunar river and did not care about the bone-chilling cold. Instead, he was very carefree. The bone-chilling cold seemed to be able to freeze one's soul. However, the strong physique of the sacred body of the ancients allowed Xiaohao to swim in the lunar river without any hindrance. This is too scary, isn't it? The middle-aged man was dumbfounded. Bathing in the lunar river was a legend of the human race in the great wilderness. Now, someone had actually made this legend a reality? Please subscribe. Since writing, the author had never stopped writing for a day. He would sit by the computer and write on holidays. It was really hard work. Sitting in front of the computer every day, even the tips of his fingers hurt from typing on the keyboard. I hope to receive everyone's support. For every chapter you read, the author will take 1 or 2 cents. Even if you've been reading pirated copies, you can support the author with the money from buying a bottle of water or a pack of cigarettes, right? Please. Chapter 564. So comfortable. After washing off all the filth and evaporating all the water vapor, Xiaohao put on new clothes and felt relaxed. What's wrong? After changing, Xiaohao walked to the front of the flying flood dragon. He found that everyone on the flying flood dragon was staring at him in shock. Did I do something wrong? Xiaohao glanced at himself and didn't find anything out of the ordinary. He was puzzled by their expressions. Little Lord, this is the lunar river. The great wilderness that freezes all things and extinguishes all life. You can actually bathe in it? The middle-aged man came back to his senses and smiled bitterly. Little Lord is really too strong. Lunar River? Xiao Hao turned to look at the cold and dark river water and nodded. No wonder it felt a little cold. A little cold. The middle-aged man's mouth twitched as he shook his head speechlessly. An existence that could travel 50,000 miles alone and bathe in the lunar river was already beyond the imagination of ordinary people. Little Lord, we are going to a little lonely mountain in the great wilderness. The group boarded the flying flood dragon and flew through the air at an extremely fast speed. This area could be considered a gathering place of the human race. There were many huge cities scattered around the area that belonged to the various marquises. The middle-aged man introduced them to Xiao Hao. They were from the Luofu water swamp. That area was under the rule of the Luofu Marquis. Other than that, there were also Marquis Zishan, Marquis Thunder, Marquis Golden Wolf, and Yintian Palace. There's actually such a vast territory of the human race in the great wilderness. Xiao Hao heard Jiao Cheng's introduction and felt a little emotional. The great wilderness with a radius of 50,000 miles is also a vast territory. The flying flood dragon flew through the air for 3 days, crossing thousands of miles of the great wilderness, and finally arrived at Little Lonely Mountain. The so-called Little Lonely Mountain was just a small town at the edge of a mountain range. This is Little Lonely Mountain. The flying flood dragon landed in the town. Xiao Hao and the Luofu people jumped off and walked into town. The town wasn't big and only had a few thousand people. Beside the town was a stone mountain that was about 10,000 feet tall. This was a smooth, rocky mountain with no vegetation on it. What was surprising was that this stone mountain was faintly shining with multicolored light, revealing a lively spirituality. This mountain was actually a guardian spirit? Is that how Lonely Mountain got its name? Other than the middle-aged man, there were also 3 children. At this moment, a child who was about 12 years old raised his head and looked at the stone mountain outside the town. A glint flashed in his eyes. Third uncle, Stone Mountain's guardian spirit, is definitely nurturing a bizarre true blood. Kill this guardian spirit and seize its true blood. Let us bathe in its true blood and nourish our bodies. The young Luofu sneered as he spoke casually. It was as if killing a guardian spirit and plundering its true blood was a common occurrence in their eyes. Once Luofu's words came out, the faces of countless people in Little Lonely Mountain Town changed. After killing the guardian spirit, the small town no longer had a tyrannical power to protect it. In this dangerous wasteland, it was simply impossible to survive. Killing a guardian spirit was no different from destroying this town. As expected, it's an undisguised law of the jungle. Xiao Hao did not have a good impression of the Luofu tribe to begin with. When he heard the young Luofu's words, he was even more displeased. Jiao Peng, shut up. The middle-aged man, Jiao Cheng, saw Xiao Hao's displeased expression and his heart skipped a beat. He hurriedly yelled at the youth. After being yelled at by the middle-aged man, the young Luofu curled his lips and no longer spoke. However, his eyes still flashed with a trace of ruthlessness. These people are not good people. I can't associate with them. Xiao Hao's mind spun a few thoughts. He turned around and nodded at Luofu and the others. My training is not complete yet, but I can't delay it. So, Xiao Hao will take his leave. Hey, young master, you just arrived at Little Lonely Mountain. Why are you in such a hurry? At least let us entertain you a bit. The middle-aged man naturally did not want Xiao Hao to leave. If he could form a relationship with Xiao Hao, it would be of great benefit to the Luofu tribe. No need. Xiao Hao was already disgusted by these people's actions. People who walked different paths could not make plans together. Xiao Hao did not want to have anything to do with them. Waving his hand, Xiao Hao turned around and walked out of Little Lonely Mountain. He leapt into the desolate mountains. This is... Just as he walked out of Little Lonely Mountain Town and entered the desolate mountains, Xiao Hao's mind suddenly trembled. A dot of light rushed out of the Supreme Hall, and a map appeared in Xiao Hao's mind. That's the destination. The destination of the training mission in the vast wilderness? Xiao Hao looked in surprise at the village marked with a huge willow tree on the map. He was a little surprised. The destination of the training mission is actually a small mountain village. Is this village very special? Fortunately, according to the map, the small mountain village was only 100 miles away from Little Lonely Mountain Town. With Xiao Hao's speed, he could reach such a short distance very quickly. The Grand Supreme Patriarch's arrangement must have a deeper meaning. Xiao Hao nodded and flew toward the destination. They traversed mountains and rivers all the way. Not long after, Xiao Hao arrived at the small mountain village. This place is actually so mystical. Standing outside the village, Xiao Hao looked at the simple and unadorned mountain village in front of him. His heart was filled with shock. An emerald green willow tree towered in the middle of the village, drooping down thousands of branches. This willow tree did not display any mystical aspects. It looked very ordinary, but Xiao Hao could feel an enormous power from this willow tree that was as vast as the ocean and as deep as the starry sky. People came and went in the village. A group of little kids chased and fought, laughing and playing. But the three birds that were chasing and playing with them were as green as jade, as if they were carved out of jade. Those should be the young of the azure sky Pong, right? A few old men sat on stone benches, smoking their pipes and smiling as they basked in the sun. But the pipes in their hands should be made from the corals on the heads of the dragonhorn elephants, right? A few village women seemed to be preparing to cook. They casually lifted a huge cauldron that was 3 meters tall, and it was filled with water. The huge cauldron was filled with water, and it was at least a few thousand pounds. In the hands of these village women, it was like a melon ladle. No wonder the Grand Supreme Patriarch told me to come here. This place is indeed not ordinary. Xiao Hao was secretly shocked. He walked to the entrance of the village, planning to greet the people inside. Someone came. At this time, among the children that were playing around, a fair-skinned child about Xiao Hao's age grabbed a young azure sky Pong, dragging it over. Goo-goo-goo. The young azure sky Pong flapped its wings, crying out loudly. It struggled with all its might, but it couldn't break free at all. What great strength! Seeing this child drag the young azure sky Pong over, Xiao Hao was shocked. Even greater than a pure-blooded, true spirit youth. This is still a 4 or 5-year-old child. Wouldn't Great One be even more formidable? Who are you? Did you come out alone? It is extremely dangerous outside. Why did you come to our stone village alone? The child who dragged the young azure sky, Pong tilted his head and looked at Xiao Hao, asking with a smile. I'm called Xiao Hao. I came out to gain experience. Xiao Hao smiled and nodded, replying, Xiao Hao. Your name also has a Hao character? The child let go of the azure sky Pong, and his round eyes looked at Xiao Hao. I'm called Shi Hao. Welcome to Stone Village. Shi Hao. Xiao Hao's entire body trembled, and he took a deep breath. Turns out this is that little big brother I've never met before. Turns out this is Stone Clan's #1 ancestral land. At this moment, Xiao Hao and Shi Hao officially met. That bone book. The old patriarch recalled the night of the thunderstorm. A towering willow tree stood tall in the sky. Tens of thousands of lightning bolts fell from the sky like a sea of thunder. In the end, a scorched black withered tree took root in Stone Village. A bone book also fell at the same time and was collected by the old chief. That's the first part of the true primordial record. It originally belonged to the Supreme Hall, so returning it to him is the perfect way to return it to its rightful owner. Willow Deity looked at Xiao Hao again. Within the hazy figure, 2 eyes blossomed with brilliant divine splendor, as if it wanted to see through Xiao Hao's entire body. 6 paths of reincarnation heavenly technique, human immortal martial path, Tao Dai treasure technique. To have such cultivation at such a young age, as expected of a disciple of the Supreme Hall. From now on, you can cultivate in Stone Village. Willow Deity nodded. Its figure turned into light and disappeared, leaving behind some willow catkins floating in the air. Child, from now on, you are a member of our stone village. The old chief pulled Xiao to the center of the village. From today onwards, our stone village has a new member. He is Xiao. Oh, oh. A group of brats clapped their hands and shouted. Good kid, not bad. The adults of Stone Village nodded in praise. The simple welcoming ceremony was thus completed. From now on, Xiao officially became a member of Stone Village. At this time, Xiaohao's mind fiercely shook. The Supreme Hall erupted with brilliant radiance. Experience the great wilderness. Travel 100,000 li alone. Mission complete. Rays of 5-colored light burst out of the crystal tablet in the Supreme Hall. Immortal light fell like rain, filling the sky like fireworks. Human immortal acupoint, saint physique, physical strength reaching 360,000 gene. Breaking through the limit of the blood movement realm, becoming an invincible sovereign in the blood movement realm. Another wave of multicolored light rushed up, filling the sky with immortal light like fireworks, falling down like flowers from the sky. Complete the mission. Reward, Basha Treasured Technique. Supreme Hall's artifact refining pavilion is open. The sky full of light receded, and a ball of light fell into Xiaohao's soul. Dragon Sun Basha's true spirit treasure technique entered Xiaohao's mind. Basha treasure technique, Earth's power. Xiaohao saw the newly obtained Basha treasure technique and was immediately overjoyed. Dragon Sun Basha only had one innate ability, Earth's power. However, this Earth force was simply too terrifying. The power of the Earth was capable of overturning the Earth and collapsing the sky. It was capable of using pure, absolute power to crush everything. Xiaohao had a saint physique, so his power was incomparable. This Basha treasure technique was perfect for Xiaohao. In addition, the artifact refining pavilion in the Supreme Hall was open, so Xiaohao could use all kinds of materials to make weapons and equipment. Kids, Xiaohao joined our village today. Tonight, let's make a good meal for Xiaohao to celebrate. The old clan leader raised his wooden staff and ordered loudly. Okay, everyone cheered loudly. Unfortunately, that old Bian isn't dead yet. Although it's not a pure blood, it's still a primordial remnant. Otherwise, we would be able to eat the precious flesh of a primordial remnant today. The old clan leader patted Xiaohao's head and said regretfully, Primordial remnant? Xiaohao suddenly remembered that he still had a primordial remnant. Back then, the giant mountain ape and a beast perished together. Xiaohao swallowed the giant mountain ape to open his martial Dao acupoints. However, that bird of prey, which was also a primordial species, was still kept in the Supreme Palace. Grandpa Clan Leader, I have a primordial remnant here for everyone to eat. Xiaohao grinned at the old clan leader and found an empty space. He waved his hand and released a huge primordial remnant. The old clan leader sucked in a breath of cold air and was dumbfounded. Wow, what a huge bird! A group of brats surrounded the huge primordial remnant and clapped their hands. Eat it, eat it. The young Huangtian Emperor's eyes shone and saliva flowed out. Good fellow, this is too fierce. The adults in the village were shocked and impressed when they saw Xiaohao release such a huge primordial remnant. Even though the primordial remnant was already dead, the ferocious aura that came from the primordial remnant was still shocking. This should be a fire crow. The primordial remnant fire crow is said to have the bloodline of the three-legged golden crow. Good fellow, you've given us a big gift the moment you arrived. The old clan leader patted Xiaohao's head and praised. Good child, you're indeed a hero. Primordial remnant? Eat it, eat it. As expected, the young Huangtian Emperor was a brat and a glutton. Chapter 566. This big meal made everyone in Stone Village feel like their bodies were on fire. This was really making them feel like they were on fire. The archaic descendant fire crow's flesh contained endless fire elemental energy. After eating the fire crow meat and drinking the fire crow blood soup, a huge amount of energy and fire energy gathered in their bodies, causing everyone's energy and blood to surge. Streaks of flames rose from the top of their heads, reaching a height of 3 meters. Ayo! The little brats howled and hurriedly waved their fists and feet, using the human immortal martial path to refine the energy gathered in their bodies. Even if they were adults, they would not be able to withstand it. They could only stop and refine this energy. However, there was one. No, there were two. Delicious. Delicious. Heaven Emperor Huang grabbed a fire crow's wing tip that was even taller than his body and swallowed it in large mouthfuls. As he ate, he shouted at Xiaohao, "Quickly eat! Quickly eat! Eat them all!" As expected of a natural-born sovereign, as expected powerful. Seeing Heaven Emperor Huang's performance, Xiaohao smiled and nodded. "Okay, let's continue eating." The divine body needed to grow and also needed a huge amount of energy and blood. With Xiaohao's current physique, it would be difficult to eat until he was full. The fire crow meat was roasted until it was golden yellow. Sparkling flames lingered in the meat like red, flaming gems. The fragrance filled the air, causing one's appetite to increase. This dinner lasted for 4 hours. Everyone in Stone Village ate for a while, finished refining, and then ate for a while. Only Xiaohao and Heaven Emperor Huang, the two little fellows, ate from beginning to end, even drinking the soup. Only then did they pat their stomachs and stand up. "Xiaohao, good brother." Heaven Emperor Huang burped and patted Xiaohao's shoulder. "You treated me to Fire Crow. Next time I'll treat you to Swan and I." "Yes, there's still a Swan and I in the mountains. We'll catch it and eat it another day." Shirtage Wang and the stone monkey brought a group of children over and patted Xiaohao's shoulder, laughing loudly. "Little brats, you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth." The old chief picked up a stick and hit each of them, chasing the group of little brats away. "With your little strength, even if that Swan and I is about to die, it's still not something you can provoke." After eating the Fire Crow feast, everyone in Stone Village had a great harvest. Using the human immortal martial arts to refine the precious blood and flesh of the Fire Crows, their strength had increased by leaps and bounds. Even the Azure Sky Peng family of 4 benefited greatly. "Xiaohao, come with me." After greeting Xiaohao, the old patriarch brought Xiaohao to the courtyard. "This is the bone book that Willow Deity spoke of. Take it." The old patriarch handed over a square piece of bone that looked like white jade. There were countless lines engraved on it. "Thank you, Grandfather Patriarch." Since it belonged to the Supreme Hall, Xiaohao didn't hold back and put the bone fragment away. Taking a look at the bone fragment, Xiaohao discovered that there were countless drawings carved on it. They were all scenes of various pure-blooded true souls and gods battling. Is this the true primordial record? It is indeed mysterious. Xiaohao glanced over and felt countless runes swirling before his eyes, causing his divine soul to tremble, and he felt a little dizzy. "Looks like I still need to slowly comprehend it." Shaking his head and dispelling the dizziness, Xiaohao stored the true primordial record into the Supreme Palace. Is this the true primordial record? Storing the bone book in the Supreme Palace was the same as it falling into Li Yu's hands. "I came to the ancient chaos era mainly to analyze the laws of heaven and earth. I still need to study the true primordial record." Li Yu took out the true primordial record with a wave of his hand and began to read this treasure book of runes. So this is what the so-called true primordial record is. This bone book was only a part of the first part of the true primordial record. However, this was indeed the most important and fundamental part. This part was also called the War God Catalog. It depicted countless scenes of battles between pure-blooded true souls and gods. So the true primordial record is an in-depth analysis of runes. With Li Yu's cultivation, he could naturally see through the essence of this bone book. The bone book depicted countless battles between pure-blooded true souls and gods, but there were no specific treasured arts or abilities. In essence, this bone book described the principles of basic runes. Through the scenes of battles between pure-blooded true souls and gods, it deciphered the principles of basic runes. The true primordial record is truly extraordinary. Liu nodded his head in praise. This kind of rune principle represented the most basic laws of heaven and earth. This was a great harvest. The first part of the true primordial record is called God Guide. It consists of the War God Catalog and the Myriad Spirit Diagram. The War God Catalog is the principle of runes, while the Myriad Spirit Diagram is an example of how to use it. Liu smiled as he threw the War God Catalog back to Xiaohao Supreme Hall. For me, the principle is enough. There's no need for an example. At Liu's current level, once he understood the principle, he could come up with countless ways to use it. There was no need to look at an example of how to use it. A part of the middle part of the true primordial record, Transcendence, is also in Stone Village. I also need to take this part of the Immortal Ascension method for reference. He took out a white square bone box. Liu waved his hand and threw this bone box into Xiaohao's Supreme Hall. Xiaohao, take this bone box and go to Stone Village to find its other half. This is also an item of my Supreme Hall. You go take it back. Liu used the system's sound transmission to pass this information to Xiaohao. Ancestors' sound transmission. Xiaohao was currently playing with a group of brats in Stone Village when he suddenly received Liu's sound transmission. His heart jumped. Stone Village actually still has an item of the Supreme Hall? As expected, the ancestor didn't have a reason for having me come here. Waving his hand, Xiaohao took out a 1.5-foot long white bone box from the Supreme Hall. The ancestor wants me to use this to find the other half. Just where is the other half of the bone box? Before he even finished speaking, Xiaohao suddenly saw the bone box in his hand violently shake. Wong! An intense trembling sound rang out. The bone box in Xiaohao's hand flew out, whistling as it flew towards a huge black cauldron placed in Stone Village. Kacha! The pitch-black cauldron suddenly exploded. The black outer shell collapsed bit by bit, revealing a huge cauldron that looked like it was carved from white jade. The huge white cauldron flew into the air, releasing a sparkling light. What was shocking was that there was actually a gap at the bottom of the huge white cauldron. Ka! The white bone box whistled as it flew under the huge cauldron, firmly embedding itself into the bottom of the huge white cauldron, perfectly blocking the gap at the top of the huge cauldron. Dang! The sound of the heavens was vast and mighty, resonating through the clouds. A beautiful immortal light rushed up, the multicolored light boundless. Thousands of strands of auspicious energy, endless strange phenomena appeared in the air, as if the immortal realm had descended to the mortal realm, and the divine earth had appeared. The dark green willow tree in the village suddenly shook. Thousands of branches fluttered, covering the entire village. The sky was covered in green light, not letting the immortal light pass through it all. Xiaohao, just what did you make? Sure, Dezhuang looked at the endless immortal light in the air, dumbstruck. Xiaohao, you're in trouble. Little Stone laughed. You broke Grandpa Chief's precious cauldron to refine medicine. What happened? Endless immortal light shone, enveloping the entire Stone Village in the immortal light, as if it had turned into a heavenly palace. Everyone in Stone Village ran out, and when they saw the strange phenomenon in the air, they were also dumbstruck. It's actually this thing? In the sky full of immortal light, Willow Deity's figure faintly appeared beside the huge floating cauldron. Looking at the huge white cauldron shining with immortal light, even Willow Deity was a bit surprised. The Transcendence chapter of the true primordial record is actually here. If this news were to be leaked, countless supreme beings in the upper realm would probably go crazy. Willow Deity turned to look at Xiaohao, who was also dumbstruck, and helplessly shook his head. Grand Empyrean, you're too generous. This is the method to become an immortal, and you're just going to release it like that? Chapter 567. Seal. Willow Deity shouted, and a jade-green radiance enveloped the white cauldron, sealing the endless immortal light. No one can reveal a single word about what happened today. Otherwise, it will be a huge disaster. If this matter is leaked out, the sky will collapse. The strict voice spread throughout Stone Village, and Willow Deity seriously warned everyone. Yes, we will definitely keep our mouths shut. Everyone present knew the seriousness of the problem, and hurriedly answered seriously. Even Xiao Hao and the group of children were fiercely warned by their elders not to reveal a single word. Xiao Hao, come here. Willow Deity's hazy figure descended, carrying the white cauldron, and called out to Xiao Hao. Willow Deity, what orders do you have? Xiao Hao hurriedly came in front of Willow Deity and asked respectfully, your family's ancestor really is, as the green light flickered. Willow Deity helplessly shook his head. You guys only have such little cultivation. How could you release such a profound technique? Xiao Hao was stunned. That ancestor said that this belongs to our supreme palace and ordered me to take it back. I also didn't know there would be such a huge commotion. Your family's ancestor is using me as a laborer. Willow Deity gloomily waved his hand. Forget it. You won't understand even if I explain it to you. I'll seal it up. If you have a spatial item, put it away, and don't take it out again. With Willow Deity's realm, he was an immortal king powerhouse back then. Although he was still in nirvana, he didn't need the immortal ascension technique anymore. Yes, Xiao Hao received the white cauldron and waved his hand, putting it into the supreme palace. Okay, you guys can all leave. Remember, you can't reveal a single thing about this. Willow Deity warned again, and then disappeared. Although Stone Village's people were confused, since even Willow Deity was so serious, they weren't interested in knowing the reason. Everyone returned to their homes and rested there. True primordial records, transcendence technique, an immortal ascension technique from the chaotic ancient era has a lot of reference value. Liu smiled and nodded. System, scan the white cauldron and record the true primordial records transcendence technique into the resource library. The resource library instantly recorded the true primordial records transcendence technique. Being of the same origin as the Battle God catalog, it is indeed extraordinary. The content of the Transcendence chapter also used runes as a foundation. Starting from the basic runes, one could use runes to decipher the laws of the world and achieve immortality. It's actually somewhat similar to my path. The Transcendence chapter of the True Primordial Record was an immortal ascension technique that used runes to describe the heaven and earth, as well as the essence of the heaven and earth's vital energy. The content of the Transcendence chapter was mainly about using runes to control the heaven and earth yuan qi, transforming the heaven and earth yuan qi into one's own foundation. This was also a part of the origin of matter. This is a pleasant surprise. The Transcendence chapter used runes to control the heaven and earth primordial qi, which was a useful supplement for Liu. The so-called precious techniques and divine abilities of this world are actually constructed from runes. The true primordial record starts from the basic runes, and in the end, it controls all changes in the heaven-earth yuan qi. It is indeed extraordinary. This harvest opened up Liu's mind, and he immediately thought of countless ways to use runes. This is Tao Tai. This was Baxia. This was Yizi. This was Paleo. With a wave of his hand, countless runes revolved, and the various innate precious techniques of the dragon's 9 sons appeared in Liu's hands. The images of the dragon's sons constantly changed in his hands. No wonder they are called the dragon's 9 sons. They really are related. The precious techniques of a dragon's 9 sons were analyzed one by one using the basic runes of the true primordial record. Liu suddenly discovered that the innate precious techniques of the dragon's 9 sons were of the same origin, inherited from the same source. The dragon's 9 sons, the true dragon precious technique. So that's how it is. With a wave of his hand, the innate precious techniques of the dragon's 9 sons were used at the same time. The images of 9 strange beasts appeared in front of Liu. They were all huge, strange beasts, their scales and claws fluttering in the wind. They were vivid and lifelike. 9 sons become one, bringing his hands together. The images of the dragon's 9 sons loudly exploded, turning into basic runes. Countless runes filled the sky like fireflies, densely covering the entire space. Like fireflies, the runes intersected and fused together, condensing into a huge sphere of light. True dragon manifestation. Having impersonated the ancestral dragon and served as the Dragon Emperor, Liu even had the true dragon transformation. He had an extremely deep understanding of the true dragon. Based on his understanding of the true dragon, Liu pointed a finger, and a stream of dragon chi rushed out, charging into the sphere of light formed from countless runes. Rhea, a dragon's roar shook the world. Countless runes instantly condensed, turning into a golden true dragon that soared into the air and coiled around. Riding the clouds, overturning the seas and rivers, traversing the void, changing size at will, divine power of the true dragon, immortal dragon body, dragon eyes, heaven-shaking dragon roar, devouring the world. 9 great abilities combined into one. The true dragon treasure technique was truly worthy of being one of the strongest treasure techniques in the world. I wonder what's the difference between the true dragon treasure technique I created and the true dragon of the 10 vicious beasts. With a wave of his hand, the true dragon formed from runes instantly shrank into a small snake and fell into Liu's hand. I can give this thing to Xiao Hao and the others to experiment with. Liu chuckled and waved his hand to disperse the true dragon treasure technique in his hand. He passed the technique of 9 suns combining into one and transforming into a true dragon to Xiao Hao's supreme palace. Xiao Hao has already joined Stone Village. The matter of assigning a team to Huangtian Emperor can begin now. The new system of the Supreme Palace was originally a sect master system. Stone Village's environment was also suitable for farming, so Xiao Hao could begin his operation. Liu waved his hand and gave Xiao Hao another mission. Wang, the Supreme Palace, in Xiao Hao's mind shook violently, and another line of words appeared on the crystal tablet. Supreme Palace has been hidden from the world for a long time. Now that it has come out again, how can it be unknown? I hereby order the current successor of the Supreme Palace, Xiao Hao, to spread the name of the Supreme Palace and shake the might of the Supreme Palace. Mission: build a side courtyard of the Supreme Palace. Accept disciples, pass on techniques, and bring glory to the family. A series of majestic heavenly sounds rumbled in Xiao Hao's mind. Xiao Hao's heart shook, and he raised his head to look at Stone Village. He blinked his eyes. So, Ancestor had me come to Stone Village for this reason? Stone Village was definitely related to Ancestor Taishang. The guardian spirit Willow deity knew about Ancestor Taishang, and their relationship was not shallow. The cultivation method that Stone Village's people cultivated was also the human immortal martial path of the Supreme Palace. Therefore, Ancestor Taishang's meaning was already very clear. Stone Village was going to become a side courtyard of the Supreme Palace. But how do I build a side courtyard of the Supreme Palace? Although Xiao Hao had reincarnated 100 times and his mind was already mature, he still had no idea how to build a sect. He didn't know where to start. Wang, the Supreme Palace, in his mind vibrated again. A ray of light rushed out from the crystal tablet and entered Xiao Hao's mind. A message entered his mind. So it's like this? When this message entered his mind, Xiao Hao immediately understood what he had to do. The buildings of the Supreme Palace can all be built in Stone Village. With a turn of his mind, Xiao Hao's soul entered the Supreme Palace in his mind. He discovered that the only thing that could be built was the refining pavilion. The Ancestor Hall is an important place of the sect, so it definitely can't be built in a side courtyard. If the refining pavilion can be built, then it can be used to refine all kinds of equipment for Stone Village. This is really too good. Xiao Hao bowed towards the Ancestor Hall. Rest assured, Ancestor Taishang, disciple Xiao Hao will definitely not disappoint Ancestor Taishang's expectations. Chapter 568. Grandpa Patriarch, I have something to tell you. The next morning, Xiao Hao ran in front of the old patriarch at the first glimmer of dawn. Grandpa Patriarch, I want to build a house in the village. Build a house? The old patriarch froze for a moment, then laughed out loud. Little brat, it's still too early for you to marry a wife. Why build a house? Live with little Shirtu in my house. When you grow up, Grandpa will build a big house for you. It's not like that. Xiaohao heard the old patriarch's words and helplessly shook his head. Grandpa Patriarch, I'm building this house to refine weapons and equipment. Refine weapons and equipment? The old patriarch's whole body trembled as he looked at Xiaohao with a face full of shock. He eagerly asked, Can you really refine weapons and equipment? In the depths of Stone Village, all kinds of weapons and equipment were very simple and crude. Spears, big clubs, bows, arrows, javelins, these were all crudely made from animal bones and wood. They were simply unsightly. At this moment, hearing Xiaohao say that he could refine weapons and equipment, the old patriarch was unable to contain his joy. Yes, Xiaohao nodded. Grandpa Patriarch, as long as this house is built, any kind of weapons and equipment can be refined. Great, great. The old patriarch's eyes shone. Let's go. I'll let them build a house for you. It'll be built quickly for you. Reaching out to grab Xiaohao, the old patriarch hurriedly ran out of the door. His joyful laughter woke up the sleepy little Shirtu. Is it time to eat? Little Shirtu rubbed his eyes and ran out in a daze. Grandpa Patriarch, there's no need to build a new house. Is there an empty house in the village? Seeing that the old patriarch was about to ring the big bell and wake up everyone who was still sleeping, Xiaohao hurriedly stopped the old patriarch. An empty house is fine too? Then it's easy. The old patriarch was stunned for a moment. Then he pulled Xiaohao and ran in front of an ancient and huge palace near a cliff in the village. This place, the old patriarch's face revealed a nostalgic expression. A few hundred years ago, this was our stone village's shrine. Afterwards, after our stone village's first guardian spirit fell, this shrine became empty. The old patriarch patted Xiaohao's head and said with a sigh, The god has fallen. I'll leave this temple to you. Stone Village's first guardian spirit was actually a god. In this world, god was not a casual title. The path of cultivation was divided into the mortal realm, the god realm, and the immortal realm. Someone who could be called a god must be a peerless expert who had advanced to the god realm. Xiaohao's heart trembled slightly. Stone Village is indeed worthy of being the #1 ancestral land of the Stone Country's royal family. Its origins are indeed extraordinary, and its heritage is deep. Walking in front of the ancient temple, Xiaohao reached out his hand and pressed it against the black stone wall of the temple. His mind touched the supreme hall in his mind. With the temple in front of us as the foundation, we will build the crafting pavilion. According to the method given by the Supreme Palace, Xiaohao activated the construction function. Boom! The sky was filled with multicolored light, shrouding the entire temple in multicolored light. The violent tremors caused the entire stone village to violently shake. What are you doing now? On top of the dark green willow tree, tens of thousands of branches whistled and rushed up. The sky was filled with flowing green light, covering up this movement. Willow deity's hazy figure appeared in the green light. It turned its head and looked in Xiaohao's direction. In its clear eyes, there was a wave of helplessness. Aya, what's going on? Earthquake. The people of Stone Village who were still sleeping suddenly woke up. They screamed and rushed out of their rooms. Over there is the temple? What happened? Seeing the multicolored light churning in the direction of the temple, everyone's heart was shocked. They hurriedly ran towards the temple. Old Chief, Xiaohao, and Little Stone, what are you guys doing? The people of Stone Village looked at the three figures in front of the temple with a blank face. They were completely confused about the situation. Don't be noisy. Xiaohao is building the crafting pavilion. After it is finished, he can make all kinds of weapons and equipment for everyone. The old chief hurriedly stopped everyone, not letting them disturb Xiaohao. So it's not for food? Little Stone rubbed his head. Only then did he wake up in a daze. You little guy. Reaching out his hand and rubbing Little Stone's head, the old chief smiled and shook his head. Boom! In the multicolored light, a rumbling sound suddenly came out. A simple and mysterious temple rose from the light and stood in front of everyone. The multicolored light converged. A black stone temple stood majestically. It looked very old. Even the stones on the walls had some mottled traces. "It's finished." Xiao Hao turned his head and looked at everyone. With a face full of smiles, he said, "Now, who wants to make weapons and equipment?" "It's finished just like that?" Looking at the black temple in front of them, the people of Stone Village blinked their eyes. They only felt that it was unbelievable. The multicolored light changed. The original temple's appearance changed greatly. It became a tall and majestic building, but it was even more simple and old. It was even more inconspicuous. "Let me try." A middle-aged, brawny man stepped forward. He handed a bone club and a black iron sledgehammer to Xiao Hao. "During this period of time, my strength increased a bit. The club is not very convenient to use. Child, can you help Uncle refine the sledgehammer and club into a single club?" This brawny man was called Hu. He was the hunting chief of Stone Village. He was also the person who brought everyone to practice martial arts every morning. "No problem." Xiao Hao reached out and took the bone club and sledgehammer. He walked into the black temple. There was a red furnace in the middle of the temple. After everyone followed Xiao Hao into the temple, they only felt a wave of heat hit them in the face. "I'm going to start refining." Xiao Hao threw the bone club and sledgehammer into the furnace. With a boom sound, raging flames surged. The bone club and sledgehammer instantly melted, turning into a ball of red molten liquid. "Uncle Hu, what kind of weapon do you want?" While controlling the furnace's fire, Xiao Hao turned his head and asked Hu. "A big club is fine. As long as the weight is heavy enough, it's sturdy enough." Hu also didn't know what Xiao Hao could refine, so he didn't ask for too much. "That's too simple." Xiao Hao smiled. "Uncle Hu, that bone club of yours is the horn of the green grasshopper. It also has a part of the green grasshopper's incomplete runes. I'll refine these runes out as well." According to the instructions given by the Supreme Palace, Xiao Hao set the shape of the big club and reshaped the ball of molten liquid. A moment later, a scorching hot red club about 5 feet long appeared in the air. Shwa! A cold mist washed over, and the burning hot club instantly cooled down. Success! With a wave of his hand, the big club fell into Xiao Hao's hands. This was a pitch-black club. It was about 5 feet long and had a half-foot-long spike at the tip. The top half had 8 edges and rows of densely packed protrusions. The handle was perfectly round and densely covered in fish scales. "Uncle Hu, take a look and see if it fits." Xiao Hao extended his hand and handed the big club to Hu. "Okay." Hu took the big club and casually waved it a few times. The protrusions on the big club faintly emitted traces of lightning, revealing a fierce and berserk power of thunder. "Ah, it actually has the power of thunder and lightning? Is it a rune treasure technique?" Seeing this lightning, everyone's hearts were filled with shock. A weapon with rune power was simply too rare. In the entire Stone Village, there were only 2 rune treasures passed down from their ancestors. Now, the weapon that Xiao Hao casually made actually had rune power? Wasn't this too frightening? Recommended Wei Feng Chanhan's new book, #1 in 2 worlds. A paper rune crane communicates with mortals and immortals. Through live streaming, one can cultivate ancient immortal techniques and use technology to change life in the immortal world. Chapter 569. I want to forge too. Me too. Child, don't forget your uncle. Seeing how extraordinary the weapons in Hu's hands were, the other people in Stone Village could no longer sit still. "What's all the noise about?" The old chief fiercely slammed his walking stick and shouted to the crowd, "Come one by one. Go back and prepare the things first." "Yes, yes." Everyone dispersed and hurriedly ran home to gather materials, planning to forge weapons and equipment. "I also want to forge a treasure, but I don't have any materials." Little Sure rubbed his head, his eyes rolling around. I remember that Grandpa Chief has a black iron whetstone at home, perfect for me to forge a weapon. Little Shidu's figure flashed as he quickly rushed out to get the materials. This little guy. The old chief helplessly shook his head and turned to look at Xiaohao. Child, refining these won't harm you, right? The old chief was a bit worried about Xiaohao. Legend has it that some tribes needed a blood sacrifice to forge weapons. If the forging damaged this child's body, then it wouldn't work. It's fine. These are all the functions of the weapon forging pavilion. I don't need to use much strength. Xiaohao pointed at the furnace in front of him and smiled at the old chief. Grandpa Chief, don't worry. This weapon forging pavilion was created by the Grand Ancestor. I just need to open it, and it won't take much effort. He's right. A hazy green light rippled as Willow Deity's figure appeared in the weapon forging pavilion. I just saw it. Forging weapons is the creation god power of this weapon forging pavilion. Willow Deity's figure was faintly discernible in the green light, as if it was an illusion floating in the green light. Looking around the weapon forging pavilion, Willow Deity nodded in admiration. There's nothing it can't forge, nothing it can't forge. The Grand Empyrean's ability to create all things is truly admirable. Thank you, Willow Deity, for your guidance. The old chief bowed towards Willow Deity. No need to be so polite. Willow Deity waved his hand to help the old chief up and nodded slightly. There's a god's body buried under Stone Village. When I was undergoing nirvana, I took root in Stone Village and absorbed the remaining divinity power in the god's body, allowing me to recover my life force. There's a god buried under Stone Village? Could he be the first guardian spirit? The old patriarch exclaimed in shock. That's not it. This divine body has been buried for a long time, even longer than the existence of Stone Village. Willow Deity shook her head and waved her hand. A huge crack appeared on the ground outside the crafting pavilion, and a huge golden skeleton slowly rose from the ground. This was the skeleton of a half-human, half-beast. It had a human head, a beast body, and 6 wings on its back. The skeleton was hundreds of meters tall, and its entire body flickered with golden light. It emitted a vast and mighty aura. It's a waste to bury this thing underground. Since you can refine artifacts, then refine it as well. The Willow Deity waved its hand and sent the huge skeleton into the weapon refining pavilion. Its figure flickered and disappeared. A divine body. This is the body of a god. The old patriarch's eyes lit up, and his body trembled with excitement. If this thing is refined into a weapon, it would be unimaginably powerful. Grandpa Patriarch, this giant skeleton is most suitable for refining a flying relic. It has 6 wings, so it can be refined into 3 pairs of wings. Xiaohao said to the old patriarch. He bent down, grabbed the huge skeleton, and threw into the furnace of the weapon refining pavilion. Boom! Flames surged, and the golden divine body melted in an instant. This is an Yingzhao. While refining the golden skeleton, Xiaohao understood the origin of this skeleton from the information provided by the weapon refining pavilion. Wings of Yingzhao refine. According to the instructions of the weapon refining pavilion, the so-called power of creation that drove the weapon refining pavilion surged, and 3 pairs of golden wings appeared in the flames. Done. The flames dissipated, and the 3 pairs of wings cooled and solidified, floating in front of Xiaohao. The golden wings looked like wings, but in fact, the feathers were all made of thin pieces of bone. The golden wings were like the wings of a golden-winged rock. Brilliant golden light flowed, and the divine power was vast. Each bone feather was as sharp as a knife. In addition to flying, its lethality was also terrifying. What beautiful wings! At this moment, Little Stone rushed into the weapon refining pavilion with a long piece of black iron in his arms. Seeing the 3 pairs of golden wings floating in the air, Little Stone's eyes lit up, but then he shook his head. It's a pity that it can't be eaten. This is a flying relic, and it's also a weapon. It's not for eating. Xiaohao stretched out his hand, and the 3 pairs of wings shrunk to the size of a palm and fell into Xiaohao's hand. Grandpa Patriarch, how do you think we should distribute this? What's there to distribute? The old patriarch smiled. You take one. Little Stone takes one. As for the remaining one, I'll just leave it for now. You can come and get it when you need it. Okay, okay. Little Stone threw away the black iron in his hand and reached out to take the pair of wings. He held it in his hand and looked at it fondly. Drip a drop of blood on it, and then refine it with your chi. Xiao Hao cut his finger and dripped a drop of blood on the golden wings. Then, his chi surged and poured into the golden wings. Swoosh! Golden light flashed, and a pair of golden wings spread out behind Xiao Hao's back. With a light flap, Xiao Hao rose into the air. Wow, this is so fun. When little Shirtu saw this, he quickly copied Xiao Hao's method and quickly refined his own pair of wings. Oh, spreading his wings, Little Stone let out a strange cry as he soared into the air. He rushed out of the weapon refining pavilion and circled above Stone Village. That piece of black iron. Xiao Hao retracted his wings and landed on the ground. Seeing the black iron thrown by Little Stone, the notification from the weapon refining pavilion suddenly rang in his mind. It's actually a divine weapon? The so-called divine weapon was an item used by the gods. When a cultivator reached the god realm, they could be called gods. Gods were the top existences in the vast wilderness. What kind of divine weapon is this? Xiao Hao bent down and grabbed the long piece of black iron. He waved his hand and threw it into the furnace of the weapon refining pavilion. No matter what kind of divine weapon it was, as long as the black iron outside was refined, its true form would be revealed. Phew! Raging flames surged, and the long piece of black iron was instantly melted, revealing the true form of the divine weapon. This was a 4-chi-long whip with 24 sections. Its entire body was pitch black, and its shape was simple. It looked like a hard whip refined from black stone. This was a hard whip, not a soft whip. It was similar to the deity striking whip, a heavy blunt weapon. Moving mountain whip? Seeing this 4-chi-long whip, the old chief trembled all over, so Stone Clan's ancestral divine weapon was not lost. It's actually the Stone Clan's ancestral divine weapon. Xiao Hao waved his hand and took the moving mountain whip and handed it to the old chief. Ancestor above, the Stone Clan's divine weapon has returned to the hands of the descendants. The old chief held the moving mountain whip and was so excited that tears flowed down his old face. This was the divine weapon refined by Stone Village's first guardian spirit, the Stone God. The Stone God fell, the Stone Clan declined, and the divine weapon, moving mountain whip, was nowhere to be found. At this moment, the moving mountain whip saw the light of day again, and the old chief cried tears of joy. Chapter 570. The Great Artifact Refining Campaign lasted for 7 days. When a little brat came to the blacksmith pavilion with a wooden horse to refine weapons, the old patriarch slapped him out of the pavilion. At this point, Stone Village's refining operation was successfully completed. Long spears, big clubs, giant axes, heavy hammers, javelins, bows, and arrows. Everyone's weapons in Stone Village were all upgraded. Apart from that, the crude beast leather armor was also reforged. After fusing with some black iron and adding some runes, although these leather armors did not look very exquisite and the style was very simple, their defensive power had increased countless times. Good treasure. Shi Linghu wore a pair of beast leather gloves on his hands. He waved his hand, and with a flash of runes, a huge beast claw appeared out of thin air. With a slap, a vast power shook heaven and earth, and divine might overflowed into the heavens. Look at how cocky you are. Shi Shoshan, the stone monkey's father, looked at Shi Linghu's showing-off appearance and curled his lips. He patted his chest, and a rune light suddenly exploded. Roar! A huge, vicious beast phantom appeared on top of Shi Shoshan's head, and its berserk aura shook heaven and earth. Are you done yet? The old chief glared and fiercely scolded. Hee-hee, aren't we? Aren't we familiarizing ourselves with the newly refined ancestral artifacts? Shi Linghu and Shi Shoshan awkwardly laughed and fled in a sorry state. Little bastard, you want to burn down our house, right? I'll beat you to death. On the other side of the village, the stone monkey was being chased around by his mother with a stick. As the stone monkey ran, the black short clothes on his body still emitted balls of fire. It looked like his, but was on fire. Ha! Seeing this scene, the other people in Stone Village immediately laughed out loud. Ha! Seeing all this, Xiaohao could not help but laugh. Stone Village's two rune ancestral artifacts. One was a beast claw, and the other was a piece of beast skin. Both of them were reforged by Xiaohao. The beast claw became a pair of gloves and was worn on Shi Linghu's hands. The beast skin was made into a breastplate and was worn on Shi Shoshan's body. As for the stone monkey's black clothes, they came from the fire crow's feathers. The archaic descendant fire crow was eaten by the people of Stone Village. The remaining feathers and bones were all refined by Xiaohao into weapons and equipment. The feathers and some animal skins were refined into a large pile of clothes. Almost everyone in the village had such clothes. The fire crow's feather was an innate ability to control fire. Not only did it possess extraordinary defensive capabilities, it could also withstand fire without being injured. It could even be stimulated with one's qi and blood to release some flames. The stone monkey had activated the power of flames on its clothes at home, which was why it was chased away by its mother. The bones of the 300-meter-long fire crow were refined into a room full of flame arrows by Xiaohao. When the arrow was shot out, flames erupted. Its power was extremely terrifying. Child, you can keep this for yourself. The old patriarch handed over a palm-sized golden red bone piece. The golden red runes on the bone piece flickered and emitted endless fire energy. This piece of bone was shaped like a bronze mirror. As the runes flickered, it seemed to contain a scorching volcano. This was the precious bone of the fire crow. The precious bone, imprinted with an innate ability, possessed an extremely powerful strength. I don't know any flame techniques, so I can't use this thing. Xiaohao shook his head and did not accept the precious bone. Although the fire crow was also an archaic descendant and had the bloodline of the three-legged golden crow. However, if it was the precious technique of the three-legged golden crow, Xiaohao would still be a bit interested. This kind of archaic descendant's precious technique was not very interesting. Then little Shurtu, do you want this? The old patriarch turned his head and asked little Shurtu, who was playing with his wings. The precious bone of an archaic descendant is not very useful. Little Shurtu did not even raise his head and only shook his head. Then, okay. The old patriarch helplessly smiled and put away the precious bone of the fire crow. His heart was once again filled with sorrow. How long has it been? The current stone village doesn't even care about archaic descendant. However, this really was the truth. Green Peng's precious technique, Human Immortal's martial path, Basha's precious technique, and Taoye's precious technique that Xiaohao brought. The people of Stone Village even chose to learn pure-blooded, true spirit's precious techniques. So who would care about archaic descendants' precious techniques? Little Shurtu was even more terrifying. Xiaohao even taught him the Supreme Palace's true primordial record and heavenly 6 paths of reincarnation. The old patriarch was still a bit worried about this. After all, this was the true inheritance of the Supreme Palace. Would it be a taboo to casually spread it out like this? Would it make the Supreme Venerable unhappy? However, Willow Deity told him that there was no harm. The old patriarch was too lazy to care about it. Time passed day by day, and Stone Village became more and more prosperous. Of course, the brats became more and more daring. Xiaohao. Outside the weapon refining pavilion, little Shurtu and a group of brats from Stone Village were shouting loudly. Coming. Ever since the weapon refining pavilion was built, there were many rooms in this huge building other than the furnace. Xiaohao also stayed in the weapon refining pavilion. Walking out of the hall, Xiaohao looked at the group of brats and smiled. What do you want to play today? I'm not playing today. I'm not playing anymore. Little Shirtu laughed and pointed at the forest outside the village. Aunt Ching Pong said that the old crocodile is about to die. Let's go catch it. Archaic descendant is very tasty. Let's eat it. Crocodile? Okay. Xiao nodded and followed the group of brats out. Aunt Ching Pong. Little Shirtu raised his head and shouted. The cry of a rock sounded in the sky. Amidst the whistling wind, a huge green rock descended like a dark cloud. This was the green-scaled eagle that Liu had turned into a pure-blooded green rock. Aunt Ching Pong, carry us out. We want to catch that old crocodile and eat it. Little Shirtu touched the green rock's feathers and said to it, You guys sit on my back. The green rock nodded and indicated for the children to come up together. Although the green rock could not transform, it had already refined its hyoid bone and could speak. The children climbed onto the green rock's back. The green rock spread its wings and rose into the sky. Crocodile. 3 small green rocks flapped their wings and flew over. They circled around everyone and let out cheerful cries. I can fly too. The little guy shouted, and a pair of golden wings spread out from his back. He caught up with the small green rocks and flew towards the desolate mountain range. The green rock had the ability to control the wind, and its flying speed was extremely fast. In a short moment, everyone had already arrived near the crocodile's territory. Roar! An earth-shattering roar of a beast soared into the sky, causing the mountains to tremble. The terrifying aura was like a raging tide. Is that a crocodile? Hearing this beast roar, the little brats stopped playing around, and their expressions became serious. It's not a crocodile. It should be some vicious beast that wants to take advantage of the crocodile's old age and wants to fight for territory. Or maybe it also wants to devour this crocodile. Xiao Hao glanced forward and discovered that this vicious beast's aura was very different from the crocodile's lightning energy. After thinking for a bit, he figured out the reason. The crocodile is ours. Who dares to snatch it? Little Shirtu roared and waved his hand at everyone. Go, kill it. Chapter 571. Boom! Half of a stone mountain collapsed, and a huge black shadow jumped out from behind the broken stone mountain. Roar! With a world-shaking roar, the huge black shadow beat its chest and roared towards the sky. It was overflowing with ferocious might and was insufferably arrogant. The black shadow was shaped like an ape. It was 10 zhang tall and was covered in thick black hair. It had a pair of black bat wings on its back and a pair of black horns on its head. It was ferocious and terrifying like a demon. It's a demonic ape. High up in the sky, everyone stood on the back of the azure sky pung. When they saw this huge demonic ape, they couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. The demonic ape was also an archaic descendant. It was ferocious and ruthless, filled with blood. It was not to be trifled with. There's more over there. Little Rock pointed in another direction and shouted in shock. There's actually 3 archaic descendant. Everyone looked in the direction Little Rock pointed. They were so shocked that their mouths were wide open and couldn't close for a long time. In the forest below, other than the demonic ape, there were 2 other huge beasts. Moo! A low bull roar sounded, and flames filled the sky. A red bull covered in raging flames was digging its hooves and growling with its head lowered. The bull was more than 5 zhang tall, and its body was 20 zhang long. The huge beast was like a small mountain. There were 2 huge horns on its head that were like 2 sharp pillars. It's a fire bull. This was another archaic descendant. The demonic ape and the fire bull were in a pincer attack, confronting a huge beast that was emitting golden light. This huge golden beast was covered in golden light, and its scales were like golden mirrors. The giant golden beast's entire body was shining with golden light. This brilliant golden radiance illuminated the surrounding forest and made it shine with golden light. It was a resplendent scene. This is the old Bayan. Xiao Hao looked at everyone and took a deep breath. Bayan is the strongest, and it specializes in lightning. We can only let Aunt Azure Sky, Peng, deal with it. No problem. The Azure Sky, Peng nodded in agreement. Leave that demonic ape to me. Xiao Hao turned to look at Little Rock and the other brats. The fire bowl is most powerful in its flames. You're all wearing clothes made of fire crow feathers, so you're not afraid of fire. As long as you don't get hit by it, there's no problem. Don't worry, leave it to us. Little Shirtu patted his chest and promised. There was even a trace of saliva at the corner of his mouth. She could faintly hear him mutter, "Beef, beef, move out." Xiao Hao waved his hand, and a pair of golden wings unfolded behind his back with a swoosh sound. His figure whistled as he broke through the sky like lightning. Bang! The azure sky pung swept across the sky. A group of devilish brats jumped off the azure sky pung and surrounded the flaming bowl. After putting down the devilish brat, the green sky pung turned its wings and pounced towards the swan in eye that was flickering with golden light. With a flap of its wings, an endless storm stirred up wind blades that filled the sky and smashed towards the swan in eye. Roar! The heaven-shaking roar was like a thunderclap, shaking the mountains. The fiend roared. Raging flames overflowed into the heavens, and golden light flickered. At this moment, the battle between the devilish brat and the archaic descendant had begun. Power of the earth, Bashia's divine might. With a turn of his golden wings, Xiao Hao was like a bolt of golden lightning. He instantly arrived in front of the black, demonic ape. His small body erupted with heaven-piercing divine light. With a heavy stomp on the ground, the earth collapsed with a loud rumble. Xiao Hao's figure was like an arrow that left the bow, fiercely smashing towards the demonic ape. Mountain shifting breaking peaks. Golden divine splendor rushed into the sky. Xiao Hao heavily waved his fist and ruthlessly smashed it down. The golden divine splendor was as vast as the ocean. A dragon head, tortoise body, for limbs like heavenly pillars. It was incomparably huge and possessed boundless strength. The image of the dragon's son Bashia appeared in the golden ocean. A fist smashed out, shaking the heavens and earth. This fist was too heavy. The strength was too great. An initial stage, Saint Physique, 360,000 gene of divine strength. In addition to the Bashia treasure technique, he used the power of the earth. With the two combined, this tyrannical strength was simply unstoppable. Pung! Even though the demonic ape raised its giant arm to block, it was still sent flying by this fist. The bones in its arm made gotcha sounds. It was clear that the bones were all broken. Roar! The demonic ape let out a long howl. It swung its almost broken arm and grimaced in pain. Whoosh! A pair of black bat wings suddenly spread open. The demonic ape howled as it rushed into the sky. The two demonic horns on its head let out a burst of blood-red lightning. Crack! The blood-red lightning ruthlessly blasted toward Xiao Hao. The sky was overflowing with blood and boundless ferocity. This blood-red lightning actually carried a violent and crazy demonic nature. Damn it! Xiao Hao's figure swayed and dodged this blood-red lightning. He frowned as he stared at the demonic ape that had flown into the sky. If you can fly, I can fly too. Xiao Hao's golden wings flapped, and his figure whistled through the air. His figure was like a bolt of golden lightning that shot into the clouds. Wings of Ingzhao, thousand feather sword. Brilliant golden light burst out from the two wings, and the bony feathers stretched out like extremely sharp blades. The clanging sounds of swords clashing against each other could be heard. Sword light rained down like rain. A sharp sword light rushed out from each bone feather and slashed toward the demonic ape like rain hitting a banana leaf. Poof! 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 The sword light was as fast as lightning and impossible to guard against. Endless sword light rushed over. Even though the demonic ape tried its best to dodge, half of its body was still enveloped by the sword light. Blood splattered everywhere. Half of the demonic ape's body was cut and bloody. Roar! After 2 consecutive attacks, the demonic ape suffered a great loss. The demonic ape was frightened. It screamed and turned to run. Want to run? You can't run. Xiao Hao flapped his wings and rushed out like lightning. In an instant, he was above the demonic ape. Divine earth power, Mount Tai crush. Dazzling golden light soared into the sky, transforming into a boundless mountain out of thin air. It smashed down viciously at the demonic ape. Boom! The heavy and powerful force smashed onto the demonic ape's body. As if it was being crushed by a huge mountain, the devil ape was smashed down from the sky by this force. With a boom, it smashed into the ground, smashing a small hill into smithereens. Wings of Yingzhao, sky-splitting sword. Xiao Hao's figure swept across the sky like lightning. The brilliant golden wings spread open like an incomparably sharp blade. Xiao Hao's figure swept past, and his wings split the sky. Poof! Blood splattered everywhere, and a huge head fell to the ground. The demonic ape of the archaic descendant had died miserably at the hands of a devilish child. The precious blood of an archaic descendant cannot be wasted like this. With a wave of his hand, the demonic ape's body was taken into the supreme palace. Moo! The bull's roar shook the sky and raging flames surged. Little Shirtu and a group of devilish children were fighting fiercely with the firebull. The huge firebull was covered in raging flames. It opened its huge mouth and spat out a scorching flame. It swept out like a volcanic eruption and turned the ground into lava. However, to the devilish child wearing the fire crow clothes, this was only a little hot. I'll block. A golden red spear fiercely pierced into the firebull's neck. Sherdezhuang held the spear made from the fire crow's beak and claws and firmly held it in front of the firebull. I'll stab. The stone monkey went behind the firebull and stabbed the spiraling spear into the firebull's anus. Awoo! The firebull let out a miserable howl and trembled in pain. I'll chop. Little Shirtu flapped his wings, and a whirlwind erupted from his body. His entire body spun like a windmill. The incomparably sharp wings of Yingzhao were like a storm of blades as they continuously slashed at the firebull's neck. Moo! The firebull let out a cry and fell to the ground with a boom. Ha! We won! The devilish children cheered loudly. Chapter 572. Ayo! The green sky, Peng let out a long roar, stirring up an endless storm. Like a tornado, huge trees were crushed, and mountain rocks were sent flying. Ayo! The swan and I roared, and its entire body flickered with golden light. The brilliance was dazzling, and the entire mountain became a golden ocean that surged violently. Hong long long, kalala! Thunder rumbled, and lightning flickered. Golden lightning flashed, and the entire space turned into a sea of lightning. The surrounding mountain collapsed, and the forest turned into fine powder. It was as if doomsday had arrived. So powerful! After taking care of the firebull and demonic ape, the devilish brats watched the battle between the green sky Peng and the swan and I. They were extremely shocked. Compared to the demonic ape and firebull, the Swanee's strength was on a completely different level. If not for the fact that the swan and I was already in its later years and was about to die, even the green sky, Peng might not be its opponent. The swan and I was the son of a dragon. Although this swan and I was not completely pure-blooded, its bloodline was also very pure. It was not one of those mixed blood descendants whose form had changed. Although the green sky Peng was pure-blooded, it had only been 2 years since it was turned into a pure-blooded by Li Yu. Its strength had not fully matured yet, and compared to this old swan and I, there was still a gap. Go, let's go. Capture this swan and I as well. Sherdezhuang raised his golden red spear and roared loudly. No need. Xiao Hao sighed and shook his head. It's about to die. Although this swan and I still looked majestic, Xiao Hao could clearly feel that its soul flame was already like a candle in the wind, about to be extinguished. Stop! Xiao Hao called out to the green sky, Peng, indicating for it to retreat. The green sky, Peng nodded, and with a flap of its wings, it retreated far away from the battlefield. The old swan and I stood alone on the hill, proudly standing upright. Its enormous body was majestic and majestic. "You're about to die." Xiao Hao stepped forward and raised his head to look at the old swan in eye. "Before you die, don't you want to have a good battle?" Brilliant golden light rushed into the sky, and a vast ocean appeared above Xiao Hao's head. "Swan and I, do you dare to fight?" With a step forward, a huge force shook the earth. Xiao Hao released all of his aura, activating all of his strength. Oh! A wild roar shook the heavens and the earth as the Swanee let out a long howl towards the sky. The golden radiance on its body was incomparably blazing, as if a scorching sun had leaped out from the sky. Smoke and clouds curled up, multicolored light shone brilliantly, thunder rumbled, and lightning flashed. The old turtle leaped up, and one of its huge claws burst out with endless golden lightning bolts as it smashed down toward Xiao Hao. Heaven and earth shook. This was the last strength of its life, the last glory of its life, and the last battle of its life. The son of the dragon, Swan and I, was in charge of the cloud beast. Thunder was born from the clouds, and it was by Wu's strongest and most violent power. The lightning claw struck out, stirring up the wind and clouds. Endless clouds of smoke surged out like the brilliant sunset glow on the horizon. Divine power of the earth, move mountains and break mountains. A golden divine mountain that connected the heavens and the earth appeared above Xiao Hao's head. Xiao Hao stepped on the ground, his figure straight like a towering mountain. Mountains are the backbone of the earth. A straight spine was an unyielding fighting spirit, an undefeatable belief. A fist smashed out, moving mountains and breaking mountains. The divine mountain flickering with golden light, following Xiao Hao's fist, fiercely collided with the Swanee's huge claws flickering with lightning. Hong Long! Mountains collapsed and the earth split. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. The divine mountain shining with golden light exploded with a loud bang. Xiao Hao spat out a mouthful of blood as his figure flew back 100 zhang. His entire body flickered with lightning and was char-black. Xiao Hao! The devilish brats cried out in alarm and hurriedly ran toward Xiao Hao. "I'm fine." Xiao Hao coughed a few times and spat out a cloud of black smoke. It seemed like even his internal organs were burnt by the lightning. Golden radiance blossomed from his entire body, and his qi and blood surged like a raging tide. The injuries on Xiao Hao's body quickly recovered, and in a short period of time, he had already recovered to normal. "Good fellow, your body is really strong." Shi Dazhuang patted Xiao Hao's shoulder and laughed loudly. "LO!" The Swanee let out a crazy roar. Multicolored light surged, clouds and smoke surged, and endless divine splendor violently erupted. Old Swanee, the devilish brats, cried out in alarm. Their faces were filled with nervousness as they looked towards the Swanee standing tall on the hill. They only saw the Swanee standing tall on the hill. Its entire body was shining brilliantly, and multicolored light curled up around it. Its divine might was awe-inspiring, and its might suppressed the entire world. "It's already dead." Xiao Hao shook his head. "It's too old, and only has the strength for one last attack left. If it can attack again, I won't be able to hold on either." "It's dead? Ha 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 ha! We won!" The devilish brats cheered and shouted loudly. They were in high spirits. This was a glorious victory, defeating 3 archaic descendants. Even if they were a group of adults, this was a battle record that they could be proud of. Moreover, this was only a group of children. According to the rules of the wasteland, the victor will receive the spoils of war. Shi Dazhuang pointed at the Swanee and then at the firebowl that fell on the ground. "These are our spoils of war." Xiao Hao, where's that demonic ape?" Little Stone looked towards the place where Xiao Hao and the demonic ape fought. He didn't find the demonic ape's corpse, so he asked Xiao Hao with a bit of surprise. "I have storage equipment, so I put away the demonic ape." Xiao Hao smiled as he explained to everyone. He walked to the firebowl's side, waved his hand, and put the firebowl back into the Supreme Palace. "Don't put it all away." When Xiao Hao was about to put away the Swanee, the group of devilish brats stopped him. According to the rules of the wasteland, the strongest prey must be carried back in one piece to show the hunter's bravery. Sure, Wong's face lit up. Back then, my dad only hunted a green swanee. What we've hunted now is a swanee. Yeah, carry it back. Carry it back. The devilish brats all liked to join in the fun, and they all requested to carry the swanee back. Okay, then let's carry it back. Everyone was in high spirits, so Xiao Hao couldn't be a wet blanket. Thus, everyone found some mountain vines and tied the huge swanee to a frame made of huge wood. Together, they carried the swanee back to Stone Village. Even though these children were young, they practiced the worldly immortal martial path and ate the flesh of an archaic descendant, so their strength was extremely tyrannical. Even though the swanee was huge, it didn't seem heavy when they carried it. Laughing and talking along the way, the devilish brats carried the swanee all the way over the mountains towards Stone Village. The devilish brats were in high spirits, but they didn't realize that when they carried the swanee over the mountains, they had already fallen into the eyes of others. That's a swanee? On top of a large tree in the mountains, a figure stood on top of a tree, watching from afar as the Stone Village youth carried the swanee back while laughing and talking. Stone Village's little brats carrying a swanee? That's right, this old swanee was originally about to die. It must have been that the old swanee just happened to die and was coincidentally picked up by Stone Village's little brats. The figure on the tree's 2 eyes emitted a cold light. The swanee's entire body is a treasure. Since I've encountered it, I naturally can't let it go. A whistle sounded, and a group of valiant figures came out from the forest. Beifeng, what happened? In the group, a large man raised his head and asked the figure on the tree. Over there, Stone Village's little brats picked up the old swanee's corpse. Beifeng stood on top of the tree, coldly saying a sentence. What? A swanee? Steal it. Steal it. When the people under the tree heard this, their eyes immediately lit up, and they rubbed their fists and shouted, Go! Get rid of those little brats and steal the swanee. Beifeng jumped down from the tree, and with this group of people, he fiercely rushed out of the forest, chasing after the devilish brats of Stone Village. Thus, the devilish brats were about to be robbed. Chapter 573. Xiao. A sharp arrow pierced through the air, making a sharp whistling sound as it shot through the air like lightning. Careful! Xiao Hao waved his hand, and a strong wind surged up, slapping the arrow away. Who dares to mount a sneak attack? Being attacked by a sneak attack, the brats of Stone Village were immediately enraged as they raised their necks and roared. Sneak attack? This is just a greeting. In the forest, silhouettes after silhouettes rushed out and surrounded Xiao Hao's group. A teenage boy raised a large bow and sneered at the crowd. He knocked another arrow in his hand. People from Wolf Village? Why are you attacking us? Sure, Dazhuang's face was full of anger as he roared at the people of Wolf Village. No need to ask. Xiao Hao signaled to the people of Stone Village and put down the buy-in on his shoulder. They definitely came for this buy-in. It's good that you know. The bow-wielding teenager, Beifeng, sneered as he slowly pulled open his longbow. The sharp arrowhead flashed with a cold light. A treasure like the buy-in is not something you can possess. You want to steal our prey? Little Shirtu glared. You dare to steal my things? Steal? Beifeng disdainfully curled his lips. Oomph. No need to waste words with them. Go slaughter them. Xiao. The sharp arrow left the bowstring and pierced through the air. On the sharp arrowhead, runes began to circulate as a sharp fong appeared on the arrowhead. Kill. The other people of Wolf Village also moved at the same time. One by one, they brandished their spears and axes as they fiercely attacked. You dare to steal our things? The brats were unable to restrain their anger. One by one, they brandished their weapons and roared as they charged forward. Even an archaic descendant was killed, and they achieved a glorious victory. This group of brats was full of confidence and were not afraid of anything. The people of Wolf Village provoked them. This was a tragedy. Kill. The golden red spear exploded with flames that filled the sky. It was like a flaming spear as it fiercely swept out. Shi Zhuang took the lead as if he was an army of 10,000. Invincible. Attack! Hit him hard. The devilish brats roared. Their morale was high, and they weren't scared at all. Their fighting spirit soared into the heavens, as if they even dared to overturn the heavens. Not only did they want to rob us, but they also wanted to kill us. The people of Wolf Village are too vicious. Xiao Hao's whole body burst out with a mighty golden brilliance, and the shadow of a majestic mountain appeared above his head. He reached out his hand and crushed the rune arrow shot by Beifeng. Divine power of the earth, move mountains and break mountains. The mighty golden radiance was like a vast ocean. Xiao Hao's entire body had transformed into a majestic divine mountain condensed from golden light. He rampaged all the way, ruthlessly crushing everything in his path. Bang, bang, bang. Along the way, people and horses were thrown off their feet. All of the wolf villagers who appeared in front of Xiao Hao were sent flying with a blood-curdling scream as if they were hit by a dragon-horned elephant. How can he be so powerful? Even though the devilish brats were young, after cultivating the human immortal martial way and the true spirit treasure technique, their strength was extremely powerful. Compared to the people of Wolf Village, they were much stronger. In addition, the brats were equipped with excellent equipment. Fire crow armor, all kinds of rune weapons. They were armed to the teeth. Rune treasures. They have rune treasures. Quickly summoned the guardian spirit. Not long after the battle began, the people of Wolf Village were completely defeated. This was because the devilish brats were kind-hearted and did not kill them. Otherwise, the people of Wolf Village would have suffered heavy casualties. Guardian spirit, show your divinity. Beifeng also knew that something was wrong. The strength of the children of Stone Village exceeded his expectations. He hurriedly took out a beast tooth bracelet from his bosom. The beast tooth bracelet exploded with a radiance that filled the sky. The beast teeth turned into specks of light and rushed into the sky like shooting stars. The specks of light that filled the sky condensed into a wolf-shaped vicious beast. It opened its malevolent mouth and swallowed the devilish brats of Stone Village in one gulp. A mighty power swept out, and a cruel and ruthless aura covered the sky and covered the earth. Wolf Village's guardian spirit is showing its divinity. Seeing the huge wolf-shaped vicious beast in the air, Xiao Hao coldly snorted, "Just an old wolf. You even killed an archaic descendant. Why would we be afraid of you?" "Let me." Just as Xiao Hao was about to make a move, he saw Little Stone shout loudly. A pair of golden wings spread out from his back with a schwa sound, and his figure soared into the sky. Thousand Feather Sword. The bone feathers on the golden wings spread open. Boundless sword light erupted from the feathers. It was like a torrential storm as it ruthlessly slashed at the wolf figure that appeared in the air. Ayo! With a mournful cry, the sword light swept past, and the wolf figure exploded. Kacha! Under this attack, even the beast tooth bracelet was broken. What? This is a guardian spirit's treasure teeth, refined into a treasured artifact. How could it? Beifeng's expression changed greatly, and his forehead was already covered in cold sweat. Retreat! Retreat! With the current situation, there was no way they could directly confront the children of Stone Village. Beifeng hurriedly gave the order and led the defeated soldiers to escape. Oh, victory! Ha ha! It was another great victory. The devilish brats happily shouted and jumped. The Wolf Village's guardian spirit is an old wolf. Wolves and wolves colluding together. This kind of creature is the most cunning. This matter, I'm afraid it won't end like this. Xiao Hao looked towards the direction of the Wolf Village's retreat and frowned. His eyes flashed with a cold light. If you still dare to make a move, then don't blame me for starting a massacre. In the entire desolate land, the human race was in a weak position. From the bottom of his heart, Xiao did not want to engage in this kind of civil war. However, if you treat him as your own race, he will treat you as an enemy. There is no need to keep this kind of person alive. Let's go. Let's go home. The devilish brats once again lifted up the wolf and carried it on their shoulders. They happily rushed towards the direction of Stone Village. Along the way, they crossed over mountains, but the road was very peaceful. They actually didn't make a move? Xiao Hao was a little surprised. According to his calculations, the people of Wolf Village would definitely not let this matter go. Awoo, on a distant hill, a mournful wolf howl suddenly sounded. As this wolf howl sounded, waves of mournful wolf howls sounded from all directions at the same time. Damn it, Xiao Hao's expression changed. He already knew what the people of Wolf Village were planning. The guardian spirit was in a sorry state. It summoned the surrounding wolf packs and ordered them to attack them. Although the dire wolves were not too strong, there were too many of them. It was difficult for a fierce tiger to fight against a pack of wolves. A 50-zhang-long old wolf covered in golden first stood up on its hind legs and let out a roar toward the sky. Behind it, the densely packed dire wolves surged forward like a raging tide. Prepare for battle, Xiao Hao shouted and put down the wolf that he lifted up. He spread his wings and rushed into the sky with a whistle. Little Stone summoned the azure sky Pong. You guys guard the wolf. I'll go get rid of that dire wolf. Xiao Hao gave an order to those below him. His figure swept through the sky and rushed towards the golden dire wolf. Pong. The azure sky Pong brought the 3 young azure Pongs and broke through the sky. With a flap of its wings, countless wind blades covered the sky and swept across like a tornado. The raging tide of dire wolves suddenly became a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. Dire wolf, give me your life. After finding the dire wolf's position, Xiao Hao's wings flapped and his figure swept through the sky like a streak of golden lightning, pouncing towards the dire wolf. Roar! The golden dire wolf stood up, and its entire body erupted with runes. A huge wolf-shaped beast appeared above its head and fiercely bit towards Xiao Hao, who was descending from the sky. Ying Zhao's wings, space-splitting sword slash. This pair of wings was refined by the divine realming Zhao and had the essence of a divine tool. Even the archaic descendant demonic ape was beheaded. How could this dire wolf block it? The wings slashed out, and the dire wolf let out a mournful cry as its entire body was cut in half. Woo! With the dire wolf's death, the wolf pack immediately howled in fear and scattered in all directions. Victory! The devilish brats raised the weapons in their hands and cheered. Recommended my friend's new book, The Strongest Pleasurable System, the story of an old driver driving in a fantasy world. Chapter 574. Xiao Hao, let's go flatten Wolf Village. Seeing Xiao Hao carrying the corpse of the old wolf, Shida Zhuang went up and roared while raising his spear. The repeated attacks made the group of brats furious. They wanted nothing more than to flatten Wolf Village. No need. Placing the old wolf's corpse on the wooden shelf, Xiao Hao shook his head. The guardian spirit is dead, so Wolf Village can no longer survive in the wasteland. If they don't want to be exterminated, they can only migrate. They are no longer a threat. That's true. Hearing Xiao Hao's words, the others nodded in agreement. Let's go back. Everyone lifted up the wooden shelf again and carried the prey forward. The journey back was peaceful, and there were no more attacks. After half a day, Stone Village's dark green willow tree appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Xiao Hao, let the prey out. Let the villagers see what we can do. The stone monkey's suggestion received everyone's approval. Xiao Hao had no choice but to place the devil, ape, and flame bull in the supreme palace on the wooden shelf. 3 archaic descendants and 1 guardian spirit, the old wolf. The group of devilish brats carried the huge beasts that were the size of small mountains. They were breathing heavily, but they were still in high spirits as they strode into Stone Village. That's Devil Ape, Flame Bull, Pung Pung, and that old wolf from Wolf Village. Heavens, These are the prey of the brats? The brats raised their heads and puffed out their chests as they strode forward in high spirits. Shameful things, who told you to mess around? If we want to hunt, do we need you? You dare to hunt archaic descendants? How dangerous is that? Do you want to overturn the heavens? The old chief raised his wooden staff and roared as he charged forward, smashing them in the face. Run! The victorious brat army, under the old chief's staff, collapsed in an instant. They threw down their spoils of war and scattered. This group of brats, they're really something. The army of brats collapsed. A large group of people from Stone Village gathered around, looking at the prey and sighing in admiration. I met this demonic ape when I was young, when I entered the mountains. At that time, it only let out a loud roar, and it scared the shit out of me. Sir Shoshan pointed at the pitch-black devil ape and shook his head with a bitter smile. This group of brats, the oldest is only 13 years old. They actually hunted such a terrifying prey. It's really too frightening. I've encountered Bayan and Hoinyo before, but I could only avoid them from afar. I didn't dare to provoke them. Shirling, who also had a bitter smile on his face, they can even kill an archaic descendant and conveniently slaughter the wolf village's guardian spirit. They're much stronger than we were back then. They're lucky. The old patriarch nodded with a smile on his face. He turned to look at the adults in the village and sighed again. Although I have the techniques bestowed by the Grand Empyrean and several true spirit treasure techniques, I still have many true spirit treasure techniques. You are all old, and your future is limited. These little bastards are our hope. We can't let anything happen to them. Yeah, everyone nodded and sighed. To the people of Stone Village, the changes in these short 2 years were simply earth-shattering. They could actually pick and learn techniques that they didn't even dare to think about in the past. Their weapons and equipment were all rune treasures. They could even casually eat the flesh of archaic descendant. The good fortune bestowed by the Grand Empyrean had greatly benefited Stone Village. Unfortunately, these adults were old, and their path of cultivation was limited. However, this group of children had a solid foundation since they were young, and their future was limitless. They were the future of Stone Village, so naturally, they couldn't have any mishaps. Watch them closely in the future. Don't let them cause trouble everywhere. The old patriarch patted the pile of prey. Although there aren't any strong beasts nearby, there are still 4 of them. However, there's still 4 big guys wandering around in the mountains. Don't let them get involved. Yes, everyone hurriedly agreed. All right, since they brought back their prey, then let's eat it. The old patriarch waved his hand, and another feast began. Eat it, eat it. I want to eat beef. Little Stone scurried out, clapping his hands, shouting and jumping. Saliva flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Thus, the archaic descendant firebowl was pushed onto the grill by everyone. 3 archaic descendant and an old wolf as a bonus made everyone in Stone Village eat until their bodies glowed and emitted flames. These fierce beasts were all huge, and even if the few hundred people of Stone Village ate together, it still took half a month to finish them. Boom! Streaks of chi and blood rushed up from the top of their heads, like smoke signals soaring into the sky. In Stone Village, regardless of gender or age, everyone's cultivation had a huge breakthrough. Their cultivation advanced by leaps and bounds, and everyone stepped into the late stage of the blood transformation realm. The human immortal martial Dao also reached the level of opening the apertures. Little Stone didn't disappoint and opened his human immortal acupoint. His strength increased to 150,000 kilograms, 3 times that of a pure-blooded true spirit infant. Other than being slightly weaker than Xiaohao, Little Stone's divine strength was unstoppable. Xiaohao is refining again. The 3 archaic descendants' fur and bones were all excellent refining materials, so Xiaohao naturally wouldn't waste them. Monkey, this is yours. Xiaohao took out a pair of palm-sized black bat wings and handed it to Shi Zhongho. This was a flying treasure refined from the devil ape's bat wings. The stone monkey was quick-witted and nimble, so it was suitable for this kind of flying treasure. Huh, This monkey can also fly. The stone monkey took the black wings, and after refining them, it spread its wings and rushed up. It screamed as it rushed into the sky, showing off everywhere. Dazhuang, you're suitable for direct combat. This is yours. A golden heavy armor was handed to Shi Dazhuang. This was a set of heavy armor refined by Xiaohao from the Swanee scales. This set of heavy armor, in addition to its astonishing defensive power, also had the ability of the Swanee to fly for short distances. Thank you. Shi Dazhuang refined the heavy armor, and with a flash of golden light, a set of golden heavy armor covered his body. Holding a long spear and wearing heavy armor, Shi Dazhuang was awe-inspiring, like a peerless general. As for the other companions, Xiaohao refined their fire crow feathered clothes again. With the addition of the fire bull skin, Swanee scales, and devil ape skin, all of the fire crow feathered clothes were upgraded. The newly refined clothes still looked like black clothes, but their defensive power was very strong, and they could resist fire, electricity, and dark curses. The bones of the three archaic descendants were used by Xiaohao to strengthen the weapons of the Stone Village people. The rune precious bones of the three archaic descendants were also refined into rune treasures and were given to the old chief for safekeeping. The only thing left were the long horns of the three archaic descendants. The 3 pairs of horns were refined into 3 long spears by Xiaohao. Mengzi, Fengzi, Dashan, these are for you guys. Xiaohao handed the 3 long spears to Shi Meng, Shi Feng, and Shi Dashan. The 3 of them were the older ones among the devilish children, and they were all around 10 years old. These 3 long spears were quite suitable for them. With the upgrade of equipment and the increase of cultivation, the construction of Xiaohao's sovereign courtyard was in full swing. At this time, the aristocratic clans of the wasteland gathered at Little Lonely Mountain also began to move. The Luofu clan, Thunder clan, Purple Mountain clan, Golden Wolf clan, and Heavenly Cloud Palace, the 5 aristocratic clans brought their youths and began to train. Coincidentally, their first stop in the wasteland was Stone Village. I recommend Gu Yu's Path of the Lord God. I personally like this book, so you guys can go take a look. Chapter 575. Grandpa Chief, there's a group of people coming from outside. The stone monkey flapped its black bat wings and landed in the village, shouting at the old chief. Ever since it obtained this pair of bat wings, the stone monkey volunteered to be Stone Village's patrol guard, flying in the air all day long to patrol. Actually, why would he be needed for something like patrolling? The Azure Sky Ping's patrol range was much larger than the stone monkey's. Before the stone monkey reported, the old chief had already heard the news from the Azure Sky Pung. Don't show off your wealth. There's an outsider coming. Everyone, put away your eye-catching things. The old chief used his walking stick to knock on the ground and roared towards the village. With a command, Shi Dazhuang helplessly put away his shining armor. The stone monkey put away the black wings on its back, and the 3 little azure pungs entered Xiaohao's tool refining pavilion. Other than that, it seemed like there was nothing else to pack. No runes were activated. No strange phenomena appeared. Whether it was armor or weapons, they all looked very normal. Rumble. Not long after, the sound of heavy horse hooves rang out. A group of people riding silver scale horses and a group of people riding golden fur wolves galloped all the way over. In the sky, a huge white feather, a huge beast bone, and a flying flood dragon whistled through the air. On the feather, beast bone, and flying flood dragon, there were a few figures standing. There's a village here? In a moment, this group of people rushed to the entrance of Stone Village. It's just an ordinary little village, someone said disdainfully. Although the village is ordinary, this willow tree should be a guardian spirit. A normal willow tree can also become a guardian spirit. It must have grown for a very long time. On the huge feather, an old man looked towards the village and nodded with a smile. Grandpa, is it very strange for a willow tree to become a guardian spirit? Beside the old man was a pair of twin sisters. Their eyes were as clear as water, and they were as beautiful as lotuses. To become a guardian spirit, one must have powerful strength. A normal willow tree, being able to become a guardian spirit, naturally has extraordinary strength. The old man smiled as he explained to the twin sisters. No matter how strong it is, it's still just a normal willow tree. However, a willow tree that becomes a guardian spirit must have powerful vitality. If we cut it down and make it into a bed, it will definitely nourish the body. On top of the floating giant bone, a teenage boy sneered as he looked at the willow tree in the village. He jumped down and said, "This willow tree is mine." Lei Ming, do you think it's yours just because you said so? This young master has also taken a liking to her. Jiao Peng, the young man from the Luo Fu tribe, jumped down from the flying flood dragon and landed on the ground. Then let's fight. Whoever wins gets to keep it. Another youth flew down from the single-horned silver-scaled horse. Me too. A young man also flew out from the golden wolf. Apart from the twin sisters on the white feather, a youth leapt out from each of the other four directions, wanting to kill other races' guardian spirits at the drop of a hat. This is not good. The twin sisters glanced at the four youths and frowned slightly, as if they disapproved of their actions. Come, let's see who is the #1 genius of the vast wilderness. Jiao Peng, the young man from the Luo Fu tribe, stood up straight. The runes on his body shone brightly, and a huge flood dragon appeared above his head. You dare to compete with me? This willow tree is mine. The Lei tribe youth's body exploded with dazzling lightning as he confronted the Luo Fu youth. I have no interest in the willow tree, but the title of #1 genius of the vast wilderness belongs to me. A wolf howl rushed out as the Golden Wolf tribe youth directly used the Golden Wolf Precious technique. So funny. #1 genius of the vast wilderness, have you asked me? A mighty purple light rushed out, and the Purple Mountain tribe youth snorted disdainfully. Runes flickered, and a light from the treasures crisscrossed. The four youths fought for the title of #1 genius. Brother Dazhuang, it's so lively outside. The commotion at the entrance of the village attracted the devilish brats of Stone Village. Although the devilish brats already knew that outsiders were coming, they had never seen the outside world before, so they were still very curious about the arrival of outsiders. Wow, so many people. The devilish brats surrounded the entrance of the village and looked at the people outside, all of them talking at once. Are they fighting? Little Shirtu glanced at the four youths fighting in the middle of the field and frowned in confusion. Of course they're not fighting. Sure, Dazhuang smiled and shook his head. They're not even using their strength. How is this a fight? They must be playing a game. Yeah, they're so light. They don't have any strength. Do they not eat? Sure, Mengzi stretched his neck and looked outside the village, asking in confusion. There should be food, right? Look, they're carrying so much food with them. Sure, Dazhuang pointed at the flood dragon in the sky and the scaled horse and golden wolf on the ground as he replied to Sure Mengzi. Yeah. Look, that feather and that bone, they must be leftovers. Little Stone nodded heavily, saliva dripping from the corner of his mouth. Pucci. The twin sisters on the white feather covered their faces and laughed. The others from the Thunder tribe, Purple Mountain tribe, Golden Wolf tribe, and Luo Fu tribe didn't know whether to laugh or cry and were speechless. The Purple Mountain tribe's single-horned silver-scaled horse was rumored to have the bloodline of a unicorn and was a famous horse in the vast wilderness. The Golden Wolf tribe's Mount Wolf was the descendant of the Golden Wolf tribe's guardian spirit and was also extraordinary. The Luo Fu tribe's flood dragon even dared to fight against the Hui dragon and was incomparably fierce. In the eyes of these devilish brats, they were all food. What made them even more speechless was that the battle between the four great King Clan's geniuses was actually called a game by them, and he even said that they didn't have any strength and didn't eat. This was simply, everyone didn't know what to say. This is preposterous. The four battling geniuses were immediately unable to restrain their anger. You said that we don't have any strength? The Thunder tribe youth's temper was the most fiery. He turned his head and stared at the entrance of Stone Village, his entire body flickering with lightning as thunder rumbled. Eh. The devilish brats of Stone Village looked at each other in dismay, their faces full of confusion. Did they say something wrong? They didn't have any strength to begin with. Bastards! The devilish brats' innocent expressions made the four geniuses even more humiliated and angry. Preposterous! I want to see just how much strength you guys have. The Thunder Tribe youth's figure leapt up, and like a streak of lightning, he instantly rushed to the entrance of Stone Village. With a thunderous explosion, the Thunder Tribe youth struck out with his palm. Strong winds whistled, and thunder rumbled. This palm strike contained several thousand gene of strength. However, a mere several thousand gene of strength? Yeah? This big brother. Do you want to play a game with us? Little Shirtu blinked his eyes. He stretched out his white and tender little hand and lightly waved it. Yes, it was really just a light wave. Boom! With a loud explosion, sand and pebbles flew everywhere, and the earth shook. Ah! The Thunder Tribe youth screamed miserably, and his figure flew back 100 jong before smashing into the ground with a boom. So strange. Little Shirtu stood still and looked at the Thunder Tribe youth with a blank expression. This big brother, why is your strength so weak? PFFF, the Thunder Tribe youth who had just gotten up spat out a mouthful of blood, and his eyes rolled back in anger. The surroundings were deathly silent. Had he managed to send the famous genius of the Lightning Tribe flying 100 jong away with a casual slap? Everyone from the 5 royal families stared at little Shirtu with wide eyes, dumbfounded. This child was only 4 or 5 years old, right? He was actually this strong? Was he still human? Could it be that he was a pure-blooded, true spirit infant in human form? At this moment, everyone from the 5 royal families was scared silly. Chapter 576. Damn it, how could you be so heavy-handed? On the floating bone, an old man from the Thunder Clan roared and rushed down. He helped Lei Ming up and quickly took out a pill and fed it to Lei Ming. Cough, cough. Lei Ming coughed a few times before he recovered. Bastard, do you want to exterminate your clan? Thunder rumbled and lightning flashed. The elder from the Thunder Clan was furious. He waved his hand, and the monstrous lightning turned into a lightning spear that stabbed towards little Shirtu. Why did you hit me? Little Shirtu raised his head in anger. He waved his hand, and a palm-sized golden mirror flew out from his hand. Clouds churned, and multicolored light flashed. Streaks of rune light wriggled up. Roar! The shadow of a golden swanee appeared. The swan and I faced the lightning spear with a roar that swept through the world. The spear of thunder, which was shining with lightning, instantly collapsed. Like a popped soap bubble, it disappeared without a trace. That is the Swan and I precious bone, a true spirit treasure. Everyone from the 5 royal families jumped up in shock. Seeing the golden mirror in little Shidu's hand, their eyes were burning like flames. There is such a divine object? A middle-aged man from the Purple Mountain clan jumped down from his silver-scaled horse. His whole body was covered in purple chi. Such a treasure will only bring disaster to this small village. Extermination is right in front of them. This old man cannot bear to see such a miserable situation. I will reluctantly take care of this Swan and I precious mirror. This place is only 2,000 li away from my Thunder Clan. This small village is under the rule of the Thunder Marquis. There is no need for the Purple Mountain Marquis to worry about our territory. On the white bone, a middle-aged man with a majestic appearance stood up. He glanced at the people from the Purple Mountain Marquis residence and snorted lightly. Our Golden Wolf Marquis residence does not recognize this place as the Thunder Marquis territory. A man in a golden robe stood up and retorted. No need to quarrel. The item is still in the hands of others. It is not too late to fight after you get it. The middle-aged man from the Luo Fu clan, Jiao Chung, jumped down from the flying dragon. What is Yuan Palace's opinion? The middle-aged man from the Purple Mountain clan looked at the old man on the white feather and asked, We withdraw. The old man from the Heavenly Cloud Palace glanced at the village with a serious expression. He ordered Bai Yu to retreat to the side. Grandpa, what did you find? The twin sisters asked the old man. Nothing. The old man shook his head. It's just that I've learned the art of refining weapons before. I noticed that the buy-in mirror in that child's hand seemed to be newly made. At this point, the old man shook his head again. If it's really newly refined, then it's impossible. That meant that there was an expert in the village. Our Yuntian palace has been around for a long time, and we have a strong foundation. There is no need for us to take such a risk for a lesser relic. After Heavenly Cloud Palace retreated, the other 4 royal clans joined forces to attack Stone Village. Hand over the Swan and I treasure mirror. Otherwise, I'll kill all of you. The flying dragon and white bones floated in the air. The silver scale horse riders and gold wolf riders lined up in front of Stone Village. His murderous intent soared to the heavens. Kill them all? Kill all of them. The devilish brats looked at each other, and their eyes lit up. Is this a war? Then let's fight. Armor. Raise the troops. Formation. Sure, Dazhuang's body emitted a golden light, and a swan and eye heavy armor covered his body. He raised a golden red spear in his hand, and raging flames surged into the sky. Behind him, the devilish brats' bodies emitted streaks of fiery light. The newly made fire crow armor covered their bodies, and they raised their spears high. They actually have so many good things? Haha, we're rich. Seeing the equipment on the children's bodies, the eyes of the 4 royal clans lit up as if they were about to burst into flames. It's just as I expected. The old man from the Heavenly Cloud Palace sucked in a breath of cold air. He brought the twin sisters and retreated a bit further, watching from afar. Kill! The devilish brats roared as they raised their weapons and charged forward. Green Pung Precious Technique, Storm. Endless wind blades whistled as they swept out like a storm. The devilish brats first cultivated the Green Pung Precious Technique. At this moment, they all used their precious techniques, and wind blades covered the sky. This is a true spirit precious technique? This village actually has a true spirit precious technique? What kind of background do they have? When the 4 royal clans saw this storm, their faces were full of shock, and they began to feel the urge to retreat. However, now that a great battle had begun, they couldn't retreat just because they wanted to. Thousand Feather Sword. A pair of golden wings unfolded behind Little Stone's back. An endless sword light swept out like a torrential storm. Lightning Spear. Flame Spear. Curse Spear. 3 spears refined from beast horns swept through the army. A sea of dazzling golden lightning, raging lava flames, as well as surging blood-colored lightning, engulfed the world. Swan and Eye armor, Berserk Charge. The Swan Knee shadow appeared on the golden armor. Shirt Dazhuang raised his fire crow spear, and like an enormous mountain, he charged straight at the cavalry formation in front of him. Flying Flood Dragon, Eat My Spear. The stone monkey unfolded its black bat wings, raised its spiral spear, and aimed at the flying flood dragon's abdomen, an indescribable place, and fiercely stabbed it. Save me. Damn it. Why are they so powerful? The devilish brat army displayed their might, and directly beat the 4 royal clans silly. However, this wasn't the most terrifying thing. Someone is bullying our children. Slaughter them. A furious roar shook the heavens and earth. A pair of enormous beast claws appeared in Shi Linghu's hands, and a huge beast head rushed out from Shi Shoshan's head. The 2 of them took the lead, leading the men, women, and children of Stone Village as they roared and charged forward. Beat them for me. Beat them fiercely. The old chief blew his beard and glared. He took a step forward, raised the mountain-moving whip in his hand, and fiercely lashed out. Honk! A golden wolf exploded into a bloody mist that filled the sky. It was blown apart by the old chief's whip. Green Sky Pung. Beat them fiercely for me. The old chief leaned on the mountain-moving whip, rubbed his old waist, and roared towards the sky. Pung! A green pung broke through the sky. Its body was 100 zhang long, and its feathers seemed to be carved from jade. An endless storm violently erupted between the two wings, and the wind blades that filled the sky covered the earth. Green Sky Pung, pure-blooded, true spirit. The four royal clans screamed in fear and were utterly defeated. As expected, too terrifying. The elder on the white feather wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and hurriedly retreated a great distance. Yeah, so terrifying. So terrifying. The twin sisters' faces paled. They only felt that this village was simply a dragon's pool and a tiger's den. It was truly too terrifying. Pung. The green sky Pung whistled past, and a pair of sharp claws grabbed the flying flood dragon. With a tug, the flying flood dragon was torn into two. Divine Earth Force, Mount Tai Crush. Xiao Hao extended his wings and swept across the sky, heavily smashing a fist onto the Thunder Clan's flying white bone. Oh! The flying white bone exploded into pieces, scattering everywhere. Hurry and run. The four royal clans fled in all directions. The experts of each clan took out their treasured artifacts, protecting several youths as they hurriedly escaped from Stone Village. At this point, the savage Stone Village army directly swept through the four royal clans, shocking the desolate land. Chapter 577. We've won. Ha ha. The devilish brats raised their weapons, shouting and jumping. Shameful brat, you only know how to cause trouble. The old chief roared angrily. He was about to attack when he realized that he was holding a mountain-moving whip instead of the wooden staff he was used to using. He could only stop. Run. With a loud shout, the devilish brats scattered. As a result, the army of devilish brats that had just obtained a great victory instantly collapsed. Stone Village's development can be considered to have begun. Liu saw this scene and nodded with a smile. Supreme Palace's courtyard. This name is quite interesting. Raising his eyes to the depths of the desolate land, he saw the four pure-blooded true spirits still searching everywhere in the desolate mountain forest. Liu nodded. Supreme Palace is still missing a few mountain guardian divine beasts. You guys are perfect. A speck of immortal light lingered on his fingertip. The immortal light was boundless and filled with multicolored light, revealing endless mysteries. Just randomly grab something to trick them. He casually grabbed a mountain rock, and with a brush of the mysterious yellow energy, it turned into a simple and unadorned stone case. With a point of his finger, a speck of immortal light fell into the stone case. The immortal treasure has appeared. You guys go fight for it. With a wave of his hand, the stone case split open the earth and fell below a cliff in the desolate land. Hung on. With a huge tremor, the mountain collapsed and the earth split open. At the same time, a streak of immortal light rushed up. The multicolored light was boundless, mysterious, and brilliant. The immortal treasure has appeared. The commotion had alerted the four pure-blooded true spirits. With a deafening roar, the four of them charged towards the place where the immortal treasure had appeared. As a result, a world-shocking battle unfolded. Hung long. Huge wings spread across the sky. A vicious bird swept across the sky. Its enormous figure was like a black cloud, overflowing with evil energy. It was exceptionally ruthless. This was a heaven-swallowing sparrow. A pair of huge claws reached down from the clouds, grabbing towards the immortal treasure below the cliff. Chirp! The vermilion bird cried, and raging flames overflowed into the heavens. Carrying endless raging flames, the vermilion bird flapped its wings and fiercely swept towards the vicious bird's huge claws, causing endless flames to erupt. Screech! The heaven-swallowing sparrow screeched. It spread its wings and soared into the sky, shaking the heaven and earth. Roar! A huge mutated beast pounced over, its sharp claws tearing through the air. This ferocious beast had the head of a tiger and the body of an ox. It had two horns on its forehead, a pair of wings on its back, and sharp fangs and claws. It was extremely ferocious. This was Cheong Chi. Boom! A golden-furred giant ape swung a huge black club and smashed it down. The birth of an immortal treasure is no small matter. This matter must be kept a secret. Xiong-Chi blocked the giant golden ape's cudgel and scanned the surroundings with his emerald eyes. These humans are the most unreliable. We have to kill them all. Ant-like things, just kill them all. The sky-swallowing sparrow's blood-red eyes revealed endless ruthlessness. If it weren't for the fact that I'm busy, I would have swallowed them all in one gulp. Why do you have to do it yourself? Xiong-Chi raised his head to the sky and roared. His roar was filled with his spiritual will. Beasts of the wilderness, heed my command. Kill all the humans of the great wilderness and flatten this land. Birds of the wilderness, wipe out the human race. The heaven-swallowing sparrow also let out a long cry and also summoned the vicious birds from the mountains. Chirp, chirp. The vermilion bird let out a long cry and burst into flames, attacking the heaven-swallowing sparrow. Vermilion bird, you are the guardian spirit of the Fire Nation. The humans here have nothing to do with you. Why you have to stop me? The heaven-swallowing sparrow roared and fought with the vermilion bird. Xiong-Chi, you dare to be so reckless? The golden-furred giant ape swung his black club and smashed it at Xiong-Chi. The four pure-blooded true spirits fought together, creating chaos in the wilderness. Roar, roar, roar. Countless ferocious beasts and ferocious birds filled the sky in the desolate mountains. They were densely packed and rushed out like a tide towards the human encampment outside the desolate mountains. Beast tide? In the depths of the wilderness, Stone Village was the first to feel this movement. Prepare for battle. Everyone in Stone Village went into battle, planning to defend the village against this beast tide. No need to panic. Thousands of willow branches danced in the air, and a green light screen covered the entire Stone Village. These four pure-blooded true spirits are causing too much of a commotion. Willow deity's figure appeared in the light, looking at the four pure-blooded true spirits fighting in the wilderness. If I don't teach them a lesson, they will become lawless. Beams of light flashed behind Willow deity. She raised her hand and was about to attack when she suddenly noticed something. She turned to look in another direction, shook her head, and stopped. Vicious beasts slaughtering humans? Of course I won't allow this to happen. Since Liu wanted to scheme against the four pure-blooded true spirits, he naturally wouldn't be unprepared. He patted Dragon Son Baxia's back. Baxia, settle this matter. Yes. Dragon Son Baxia accepted the order and looked at the vicious beasts rushing out like a tide. Its huge head suddenly rose, breaking through the ground and rushing out of the wilderness. Rumble. Mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. The earth quaked and the mountains shook. An incomparably huge dragon head broke through the ground and rushed into the sky. The huge dragon head pierced through the heavens like a pillar supporting the heavens. Roar. A dragon's roar shook the heavens and earth, stirring up the winds and causing all living beings to tremble. The beast tide, rushing out of the wilderness mountain range, paused for a moment, followed by a wave of horrified howls. They all fled pathetically, returning to the wilderness mountain range. Damn it, that's... The four pure-blooded true spirits were shocked to see the dragon head rushing out of the ground. Power of the earth, suppress. The huge dragon head looked down at the four pure-blooded true spirits and softly uttered a few words. Words of law. The vast power of the earth pressed down heavily on the four pure-blooded true spirits, as if the entire earth was pressing down on them. No matter how powerful the four pure-blooded true spirits were, they couldn't resist Dragon Son Baxia, who was at the supreme level. If not for the fact that Liu wanted to keep them, Baxia would have crushed them already. Absorb! Baxia roared, and the power of the earth swept the four pure-blooded true spirits into its huge mouth. Rumble! The dragon head returned to the ground, and a yellow light swept past. The earth closed, and the mountains condensed. Apart from countless collapsed plants, no one could see that a huge beast had appeared. Willow deity, what was that? Stone Village's people were still dumbfounded. They were inexplicably shocked by the huge dragon head that pierced through the heavens. Only Xiaohao frowned and didn't say a word, as if he was thinking about something. What else could it be? Willow deity seemed to roll its eyes and pointed at Xiaohao. Why don't you ask him? Isn't this caused by his supreme ancestor? The green light in the sky receded, and Willow deity's figure returned to the willow tree. Xiaohao, that thing, what was it? Willow deity didn't answer, so Stone Village's people could only ask Xiaohao. I wasn't sure at first, but since Willow deity said it was related to supreme ancestor, then it must be true. Then there's no mistake. Xiaohao turned his head to look at the crowd and spread his hands with a smile. All right, then it's Supreme Hall. What? Hearing this answer, Stone Village's people opened their mouths wide in shock. Chapter 578. Ancestral Master, Baxia did not fail you. Baxia retracted his head and spat out a yellow light, sending the 4 pure-blooded true spirits sealed in the yellow light to Li Yu. Well done. Li Yu nodded. With a wave of his hand, the 4 pure-blooded true spirits were stored in the resource vault. Peak Human Realm, Venerable Realm. These 4 pure-blooded true spirits can be used to guard Stone Village. Li Yu smiled at the resource vault. Just as he was about to make a move, he shook his head with a smile. Vermilion Bird. This is the Fire Nation's guardian spirit. Let's return this to Huangtian Emperor's father-in-law. He reached out and took out the Vermilion Bird. Little Vermilion Bird, it's dangerous outside. Go home early. He broke through the void, grabbed the Vermilion Bird, and sent it flying into the Vermilion Bird Shrine of the Fire Nation's ancestral grounds. Chirp, chirp. The little Vermilion Bird that had crashed headfirst into the Vermilion Bird Sacred Palace shook its dizzy head and blinked its eyes as if it still hadn't figured out what was going on. Little Vermilion Bird, it's dangerous outside. Go home early. A mighty voice suddenly sounded in its ear. The Vermilion Bird shrieked in shock. Its feathers stood on end and flames rose from its body. Even such a terrifying fellow exists. The outside is indeed dangerous. The little Vermilion Bird shuddered as it recalled the scene of being swallowed by Baxia. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. I don't have any meat on my small body. Baxia didn't want to eat me. It didn't know that it was Li Yu who had let it out. It thought that Baxia had let it live. Chirp, chirp. The little Vermilion Bird dove into the depths of the temple and hid in its nest, never to come out again. Li Yu naturally didn't know that he had accidentally scared the Vermilion Bird into a shut-in. The heaven-swallowing sparrow, Qiongqi, and Zhuyan. These 3 pure-blooded true spirits had different attitudes, so they were treated differently by Li Yu. The heaven-swallowing sparrow and Qiongqi are both vicious and bloodthirsty fellows. This kind of guy can't be raised well. Li Yu waved his hand, and a 5-colored radiance spun, directly erasing the memories of the 2. System, reconstruct the memories of the sky-devouring sparrow and Qiongqi as the divine guardian beast and mount of the Supreme Palace. Apart from this, I'll also place a loyalty imprint on them, binding them to Xiaohao and Shihao. These 2 ferocious beasts should just obediently go guard Stone Village's gate. As for how Xiaohao and little Shi were going to divide these 2 ferocious beasts, that was their own business. Go! Taking out the sky-devouring sparrow and Qiongqi, Li Yu sent them into Xiaohao's Supreme Palace. This monkey is quite interesting. 3 heads and 6 arms, 72 transformations, lawful embodiment of heaven and earth, and the manifestation of hair. Not only that, he was also proficient in staff techniques. This fellow was simply a weaker version of Monkey King. These divine abilities are quite interesting. Li Yu didn't hold back and had the system scan the monkey's divine abilities and precious techniques. Although Li Yu had already encountered the 3 heads and 6 arms in the mortal world, Li Yu also had the endless transformations and the 12 awakening transformations. The lawful embodiment of heaven and earth also had this size manipulation, and the manifestation of hair was far inferior to the flowing ink spirit division technique. However, these things were all very interesting. This monkey is the hairy ball by Heaven Emperor Huang's side. Liu glanced at the Zhuyin in the resource storage and smiled. Monkey, being able to grow up together with Heaven Emperor Huang is also your opportunity. With a flick of his finger, Liu sealed the Zhuyin's memories. Therefore, I'll still preserve this opportunity for you. After sealing the memories, the huge Zhuyin turned into a little monkey with golden hair. Go, bring disaster to the world together with this devilish brat. Grabbing the golden-haired monkey, Liu tore open the void and threw the little monkey to the side of Stone Village. Stone Village. Xiaohao had just returned to the tool refining pavilion when he heard a rumble in his mind. Two huge, pure-blooded true souls appeared in the Sovereign Hall. These are divine beasts guarding the mountain. The information from the Sovereign Hall allowed Xiaohao to understand the identities of the two pure-blooded true souls. This left Xiaohao dumbfounded. 4 pure-blooded true souls from the depths of the wilderness were captured by the founder and brought into the Sovereign Hall. Now, 2 of them have been sent over as divine beasts guarding the mountain. Xiaohao rubbed his head, thinking that the founder's actions were too frightening. Stone Village will be even safer with 2 pure-blooded true souls guarding it. Xiaohao released the 2 beasts with a wave of his hand. Greetings, young master. Venerable realm pure-blooded true souls could take human form long ago, so they could naturally speak human language. After the 2 beasts were released, they immediately knelt before Xiaohao. Your appearances are too frightening. Can you make it smaller and less eye-catching? The 2 beasts were both hundreds of meters long, and their enormous bodies were frightening. It was very inappropriate for them to appear in Stone Village like this. We are also proficient in the art of transformation. Qiongqi and the sky-devouring sparrow nodded, and their bodies shone with light as they instantly transformed. A small lion with a pair of wings appeared, looking somewhat similar to the biao of the forest. In a mountain village on the edge of the wilderness, it wasn't strange for such a strange creature to appear. The sky-devouring sparrow shrunk its body, and the rows of sharp fangs in its beak were removed. It looked just like a slightly larger sparrow. This appearance is okay. Xiaohao nodded and walked out of the tool refining pavilion with the 2 new divine beasts. The 2 beasts entered Stone Village, so they naturally had to greet everyone. Xiaohao, you also caught 2 small animals? Little Stone held a golden-haired monkey by the neck and raised it in his hand as he greeted Xiaohao. Squeak, squeak. The golden-haired monkey squealed and bared its teeth at Little Stone. Hairy Ball stopped squeaking. Here's a candy for you. Little Stone took out a candy and stuffed it into the golden-haired monkey's mouth. The golden-haired monkey held the candy and ate it with relish, allowing Little Stone to pinch its neck. Thus, a pure-blooded true spirit of the venerable realm, a peerless powerhouse that ran rampant in the wilderness, was bought over by a candy. When Zhuyin regained its memories, it would probably cry, right? Buzz, a green light bloomed from the green willow tree, and the willow deity's figure appeared in front of the 2 little fellows. Grand Empyrean, is this your plan? The willow deity glanced at the 3 beasts and shook its head with a smile. Qiongqi, sky-devouring sparrow, Zhuyin, this could be considered your fortune. We have been taught by the Empyrean. From now on, we will protect the young master and guard the mountain gate. In the future, we will also be able to achieve great results. This is indeed our good fortune. Qiongqi, who looked like a small lion, nodded at the willow deity and replied, Yes, we will also become gods and immortals one day. The sky-devouring sparrow continued from the side. It's good that you can think this way. The willow deity waved its hand and turned to leave. It was too lazy to care about this trivial matter. Thus, the 3 pure-blooded true spirits settled down in Stone Village. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.